All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome out to Speed Racing Network, where we present the Rich Get Richer 180 from Richmond Raceway. My name is Sean Griffith. I'm here with my co-broadcaster, Brandon Domain. Brandon, how's it going tonight, buddy?
Well, I'm happy that we have some racing tonight after what we saw. If you're an F1 fan, this morning was a bit of a letdown, but we can step up. There's no rain in sight in the virtual world of iRacing as we get ready to go to Richmond.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely rain all over the country with Hurricane Ida out there, and please, if you are in the way of that storm, please be safe. Our prayers are definitely with you out there, and some of our drivers are from those areas, so definitely hearts go out to those families, and hopefully everyone is remaining safe. But yeah, we are here in Richmond, Virginia, virtually to see what these cars can do.
Yeah, and we've seen two very different races this week with the trucks and with the Xfinity side. On the trucks, we saw a lot of caution after caution in that race, and it really kind of broke up any kind of rhythm anybody would have had. But then on the Xfinity race on Thursday, we had a really long run in the race that really kind of let the field filter itself out and set up a pretty strong finish there as well. So hopefully we can get a little bit more of Thursday out of those two here tonight. And with that similar setup, no fast repairs tonight, I think we're kind of in line for that.
You know, one thing that we saw on Thursday that I wasn't really expecting was just a lot of good racing where, you know, even in those moments where you had, 10 laps between cautions or whatever it is, we saw a lot of side-by-side, and I didn't really expect that here.
Yeah, you can pull it off, especially too wide. You can make that work. It's a little touchy, especially on exit of the turns. But as long as somebody knows, they set up that turn, they know where the braking points are for the other driver around them. That's really where you get that trouble, is somebody brakes a little bit earlier than somebody that wants to drive it a little bit deeper naturally into the turn. Going in, that's the one point that you get worried about. The exit's a little loose here, but you can do side-by-side racing, and honestly, in these cup cars, you could probably pull off 3 wide here and there if you need to.
Well, we will probably see a lot of that here tonight. I'm looking at the times out there on the track, and these times are 2 seconds faster than they were on Thursday night, so these guys really have the car to get it done.
Yeah, a lot of downforce with these cup cars compared to what I experienced on Thursday with the Xfinity cars. It kind of felt like they were on ice, and just running the cup car in a practice session on similar conditions, just so much more grip than what we saw on Thursday, and I think that's going to bode to some really good racing tonight.
Yeah, can't wait to get out there, but this is week number 7 out of 20, so we go 13 weeks in the regular season, and then we cut to the top 15, so we are basically more than halfway through the regular season here, and this is really our only track that is less than 1 mile long. So this is the shortest track that we'll have this entire season, and so these cars are going to be bunched up together for 180 laps and no fast repairs.
Yeah, and there's going to be some drivers that wish that there were more of these short tracks on the schedule, but there's going to be a lot more, I think, that are happy this is the one short track, and I some people will consider Dover and Phoenix at 1 mile to be a bit of a short track. I don't personally. This is the one short track to me on the schedule. It's a tough way to get around here. It's a lot of pressure on drivers to not make a mistake because you have so many opportunities to do so. Everything just happens so fast around this track. So I think that, there's more drivers that are happy that this is our one short track than are upset.
Yeah, when you put 32 cars that are some of the most powerful cars on the planet out there on one single track, there's going to be a little bit of bumping going on out there, and I am sure we are going to see some of that here tonight. But as far as the league is concerned, again, 20 weeks in the season, fixed setup, so everybody is on the same car. That is very important to us here at Speed Racing Network. We want to be sure that we get the best driver and not just the best car.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about this series. There's a lot of places out there that you can go and find, as all of them point out, they have the best setup out there, but there's a whole lot of different ways you can make up a lot of speed in the cars. With what we have, there's only 3 pretty minor things that you can adjust, and everything else is the same. So out of about 1,000 things you can work on, there's 3 you can change. So it really determines who the better drivers are in the league. And I think once we get over these 20 weeks, it determines who the best driver is by far when it comes to determining our champion.
Yeah, and once we get to that point, we've got some good prize money there too. But these guys pay $15 a week to get into this series, and then we do have weekly and season-long payouts, including that $1,000 first place. And I got to tell you, we'll get to him in just a few minutes here. But Scott Healy, last year's champion, is looking really strong this season too.
Yeah, and that's not a shock. I mean, he came on strong, especially in the second half last season. Was a bit under the radar when it came to our Championship 5 at Texas in our season finale last season, and just came up and really controlled that race, really from about start to finish. I think there was about a 20-lap segment where he was sitting second or third, but after that, just led that thing for almost the rest of the way. And not a shock to see him be strong here again this season.
Yeah, we've got 5-person teams in this league, and so we do have team championships that pay out $300 at the end of this season as well. So a lot of money going on, including the race payouts. First place gets $45, second place gets $30, third, fourth, and fifth get $15. So it's not a ton of money. It's just enough to wet your beak a little bit.
Oh yeah, and third, fourth, and fifth, you're putting that money forward to next week's race, so you don't have to worry about that if you haven't already just paid ahead of schedule. Second place, you're doubling your money. First place, you're tripling your money. And like you said, it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're in that top 5 consistently, you're sitting there making a nice little side hustle here just from the weekly payouts, let alone our full season payouts.
Yeah, definitely. In the past couple of seasons, we've had at least one driver that has gone out there, only paid for week number 1, and then ended up rolling over their winnings week after week after week after week, and ended up not paying anything more than that first week because they were doing so well. So it is definitely possible to make a little bit of money here in Speed Racing Network. It's not a ton, but it's a little bit. But then when we get to the season-long payouts here, that $1,000 first place is looking mighty enticing.
Yeah, that is a big number here for iRacing, and really makes SRN stand out a good bit, because not only do we have the weekly, but we're putting out that $1,000 for the season champion. Second place walking away with $600, so doubling the money for the full season of a buy-in there. Third place making more money than they had to pay without even counting the weekly payouts. They'll make $350. It's $200 for fourth. The fifth driver of our Championship 5 will be $125, but then new this season, those payouts 6th, 7th, and 8th with the $175 and $50 respectively.
Yeah, we thought it was really fun to have the top 5 in a shootout there at the last race, but we wanted to be sure that those guys that didn't quite make it into the top 5 still had something to race for, and so 6th, 7th, and 8th will be determined by those drivers as well. So definitely some money there, and also one thing that's not listed on here, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but the team playoff structure as well is brand new. So I really think that the playoff season is going to be the season to watch here.
It is going to be absolutely electric, and we are only about a month and a half away from starting the playoffs. It comes up on you just like that. It wasn't long ago we're talking about the early stages of the season and really just trying to avoid big point losses. Now we're starting to talk about making sure you retain every point you can if you're near that cut line.
Definitely a good way to do that is to get a coach, and Kane Cook is one of the best ones that's out there. He races up in the Coca-Cola series, and he is known as the hard charger. He starts from the back and works his way all the way up through the pack, all the way up to the front. So he knows how to get around these tracks. He knows how to work this sim. He knows the secrets. And so if you want to know those secrets, definitely go to speedracingnetwork.com and book some time with Kane Cook. You will not regret it.
Yeah, and I worked with him in the off season. I talk a lot about some of the stuff that's outside of the virtual cockpit that he helped out with, where it's just settings on things. But another thing he did help me with was just making sure that on the long run you're good on tire wear and how to really conserve that car. And that's been a big difference for me this season. Fortunately, don't quite have the results I'm hoping for just yet, but I have noticed my game on the long runs has gotten a whole lot better than from last season, and I credit that fully to working with Kane.
Definitely. Now, we do have a new segment this season brought to us by our brand new sponsor this season, Beer Street Journal, and we do have that Beer of the Week right now. So let's take a look and see what the Beer of the Week is. This week's Beer of the Week comes out of the spirits arm of Southern Tier Brewing. It's a ready-to-drink cocktail that is inspired by their popular pumpkin beer. It's called King and Cola, and it's exactly what you would expect, the perfect balance of pumpkin pie spices and peppery cola. The distillery also has a whiskey called Pumpkin Whiskey, but this can combines that with the classic taste of cola. It's the perfect mix, ready to go for your barbecue or adult get-together, especially as the weather cools off. But if pumpkin isn't your thing, that's okay. Southern Tier Distilling has also come out with vodka pink lemonade and lime agave margarita, both in the cans ready to drink. You can find these drinks in New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and North Carolina, so don't let the autumn season go by without trying out the King and Cola. The Beer of the Week is sponsored by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beverage reviews. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly. That's right. Beer Street Journal always gives us the best beers of the week, and sometimes they give us these craft cocktails as well, so you never know what you're going to find on BeerStreetJournal.com. Definitely go check it out and check out your next great beer.
Yeah, and definitely at the pumpkin season of things here. We see the coffee starting to come back out. Now we're seeing these adult beverages that are coming out as well. So you can take care of pumpkin cravings morning and night now, thanks to this one here from Beer Street Journal.
All right, well, moving on into our individual standings, and James Holtzer is still sitting up at the top of the standings, but don't look too far down. We've got last season champion Scott Healy right on his tail.
Yeah, we have, in fact, 3 of our championship 5 from last season sitting 1, 2, 3 in the points standings. It's Gabriel Ellison as well. They're sitting in 3rd. Dean Brummett, longtime fan favorite, sitting in 4th. Seth Berger rounding out the top 5, and he has been very impressive this season, making a big jump, building on the momentum from last season. And then we have Landon Lacey, Reese Schaefer, Timothy Latham, Kyle Benson, Austin Reedy, just power all the way through that top 10.
Well, yeah, you look at that top 15 there, you've got all five of Next Level Motorsports in that top 15, and so that is definitely a good way to get to that championship. But if you take a look outside the cut, still have some big names out here, and definitely want to point on a couple of these, because you've got people here like Emerson Ardon, who is just an incredibly consistent driver back there in 19th, so not too far away from the cut. Kyle Spees is an incredible driver himself. So again, just a few drivers here that really you feel like they should be in the cut, but who you drop out.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, and there's a pretty decent gap to be making up here for these guys too. And I think the most notable name, and not just because of how close he is to the cut line, but Kyle Spees, playoff driver from last season, and really one of the better drivers in the playoffs. Had a couple races that he missed last season in the postseason, but when he was there, running up near the front. But he's sitting first one out at this point in the season as we hit halfway, and that's a bit of a surprise to me because that's a very consistent driver.
Oh, yeah. So we'll have to see how this thing shakes out. Again, these drivers get 3 drop weeks, and that is not in play right now on these standings. So you just never know what's going to happen as we keep moving on through the season. But no shock here. Next Level Motorsports up at the top of the list as far as the team aspect is concerned. But again, these teams are all going to be put into a bracket once we get to week 13. So, yeah, it looks like there'll be one team that gets a bye, and that could be Next Level Motorsports the way it's going right now. But everybody else is going to have to work their way forward.
Yeah, and really right now you are looking at that 1 seed getting a bye to the second round, which is a big reward in itself. And if we look at how it's going to play out now, it would be Tank Racing versus Ramsey Cole Racing. And for Ramsey Cole, they're sitting there at just 3 drivers, which is how many are scored each week. Tank would have that big benefit of having a full lineup of 5 that can make up those 3 spots. So that's going to kind of, I don't want to say that's a buy in itself, because Ramsey Cole Racing could have all 3 show up and all 3 perform well, but that's a precarious position for them.
No, definitely a rough spot for them. So we'll see how these things shake out as well, because once we hit week 13, that's when we get into the bracket. So, but let's introduce everybody to these teams a little bit, and we'll start off with Next Level Motorsports, who is currently over a 100-point lead and looking extremely strong, led by James Holtzer. And really, this is kind of an all-star team, Brandon.
Yeah, one of the stronger teams that I think I've seen to date, not just this season and not just in Cup, but across all 3 series here at SRN. This is an absolutely loaded roster. You have Holtzer with the 2 wins, Landon Lacey with a win as well. Gabriel Ellison, super consistent driver, sitting 3rd in the point standings, is up there. Timothy Latham, Nick Goen also above that cut line and very strong in their own right.
Definitely. I mean, all 5 of these guys could pop off a win at any of these racetracks, so don't be shocked to see them up towards the top of the leaderboard. But another team that has come on really strong this year in the Cup Series is Tank Racing. They finally have 5 drivers on that team here in the Cup Series, and that has really benefited them.
Been a huge benefit, and I think this has been a full year resurgence for Tank, really top to bottom if you're looking at Truck, Xfinity, and Cup, but it's been most notable in Cup. You have Joshua Balliet, who currently is on the provisional pole right now as we continue with qualifying. Reese Schaefer has been one of the standout rookies by far in the 17, and Emerson Ardon, Seth Berger, and Max Service have all had strong runs. Seth Berger sitting in the top 5 in points.
Definitely. Now moving on here to Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing, and yes, that is a mouthful, but man, they've got a great team also, including last season's champion Scott Healy.
And the defending champion sitting 2nd place in points, but right behind him, there are not many weaknesses here in this lineup either. You have Kyle Benson, who's put together some very good runs in the 10. Austin Reedy sitting there in the 1. Craig Lautenslager in the 13, John Honeycutt in the 50. A couple of these guys have just had hard problems closing out races, but they've been strong in the middle portions. If they can put together a complete race, this team top to bottom could be a serious contender.
Yeah, that 3 and 6 matchup in the playoffs could be interesting if it holds out to where it is right now. But moving on to Rev Racing, and now Rev kind of has a new identity in the Cup Series this year. They do have Kyle Spees, they do have Scott Kalal, who were both playoff drivers last season. Byron McDonald's kind of leading this team, leading the way as captain there, and really. They brought along kind of a new crew here, and it looks fresh, it looks good. We've just got to see a few more results.
Yeah, this team has really kind of been the hard luck team this season. They have a lot of talent there, just haven't been able to really get many races where they close it out strong. But with Byron McDonald, Scott Kalal, Kyle Spees, Dalton Tucker has been very fast here and there in some of these races. Christopher Lawrence sitting there rounding out this group of 5. That is a strong team top to bottom.
Next up, we got R&D Motorsports, and David Duke has put together a fantastic team here, just like he has in the other 2 series as well. But this team, I mean, of course, led by David Duke himself, but Chad Wampler, he's a winner in Speed Racing Network before. Joshua Siegfried has come on really strong. Jordan Sailors is an incredible driver. Brian Mabry, we've seen a lot out of him as well. So, I mean, just all these drivers coming together, they just got to gel to get one win.
Yeah, and with R&D, I think the issue that they've had is they've had a lot of turnover in the few weeks before this lockdown on the rosters, which was last week. I think now that they're set, give them more time to gel together, I think that's going to be a big boost for this team.
Moving on to Stryker Motorsports, which is near and dear to both of our hearts, of course. So I started Stryker Motorsports a couple seasons ago, and then passed it on to Travis Trevelyan, and now Brandon Domain drives for Stryker Motorsports down in the Xfinity Series. So definitely some good drivers here.
Yeah, and this has been a similar one. We've seen guys like Raul Meza put together a good, strong start to the season. Been a little bit difficult lately for him. Bo Brady has had a lot of speed out there in the 19, just trying to get a couple more consistent finishes there. But around them, Mike Lewis in the 05, Kyle Johnson in the 48, and Joe Ruggles in the 96.
Yep, and we got to keep on moving on here, but Ramsey Cole Racing is taking up that 7th spot right now, just like you were kind of alluding to a little bit earlier. They only have 3 drivers. We've never really seen any of these drivers in Speed Racing Network before this season. Russ Bovair is brand new in this series, so this will be only the 2nd time we've seen him out on the racetrack. Andrew Lewis and Ty Cole have both had decent finishes. Ty Cole kind of up in the top 10 right now in the rankings as far as the speed on the track right now.
Yeah, if you gave them one extra driver, and I think if they had 3 that were on the roster for the first 5 races of the season, I think this would be a different story, and we'd be talking a little bit more of this team as a contender as it came to the playoffs. But I think with the position that they're in, only having the 3 drivers and really just adding that 3rd driver a week ago, really put themselves in a tough position where they're going to be in an uphill battle the rest of the season. But they do have speed, and if all 3 of these drivers can get consistent and get hot going into the playoffs, they could be a factor and possibly spoil somebody's season.
And they have a chance. That's the whole point. They have a chance, and that's all you really need as you get into those team playoffs. We do have 3 independent drivers out there tonight. Number 8, Michael Politis. Number 25, Dean Brummett. Number 83 of Chris Massey. So all veterans of the track here. So I know Dean Brummett is a big fan of these short tracks.
And for good reason, as he was our winner at Richmond last season. So that's definitely a guy that you want to keep an eye on. But one thing we notice here as we get qualifying wrapped up is there is a lot of drivers that chose not to take a lap tonight. So you're only looking at about 2/3 of the field setting a time. The rest of them choosing to sit in the back.
Yeah, but
and that does include Dean Brummett.
Yeah, if you take a look at these drivers that are up front, though, Landon Lacey up in the pole. You got James Holtzer in second, Timothy Latham in third, all for Next Level Motorsports. Got last season's champion, Scott Healy, who was kind of a teammate of those guys a little bit earlier this season, and then Gabriel Ellison once again from Next Level Motorsports in fifth. So these guys very comfortable around each other, really know each other, but look at the next 3 there, Brandon.
Yeah, for Reese Schaefer, Joshua Balliet, Max Service, all Tank Racing drivers sitting 6, 7, and 8. Ramsey Cole Racing represented in row 5 with Ty Cole sitting in 9th, and then Revd Racing on the outside with Dalton Tucker, who will be starting in the 10th position.
Yeah, 11th is Kyle Johnson from Stryker Motorsports, and then 12th is Michael Politis, who's an independent. But, I mean, if you look at those first 8 drivers, I mean, you're talking all Next Level or Tank Racing except for Scott Healy there. So if you think there's not a battle at the top of these standings, you're not paying any attention.
Yeah, and those teams have just been absolutely just in a 12-round title fight with each other, and they have been throwing haymakers week after week at each other, and it has been exciting to watch this team format play out as we get ready for this new style of how we're going to do the postseason. And these teams have represented themselves incredibly well at the top of our point standings.
Well, now's the fun part where we get to put the broadcaster's curse on somebody because everybody knows that we have that power and luxury. So who you got tonight?
And I know that power from both sides of it this week after Wednesday and Thursday. And unfortunately, I am going to put it on somebody, and that's actually going to be the man sitting in 4th off the grid. Our defending champion, Scott Healy, had a strong finish at Richmond last season. Just very smooth, very consistent. I think he puts that together again tonight, and I like that he doesn't have to move up too far to get to that front spot like some of our other contenders here in the field.
You know, I'm going to go just to the inside of him with Timothy Latham there in the 5. That Voodoo Rays car, he's had a lot of good luck with that Voodoo Rays car, and he is just incredible at these short tracks also. And with starting off there in 3rd place, not a bad deal for him.
I don't think you can go wrong really with anybody here in this top 8, just how much they've run up front this season. So I think this team title fight that we've seen going here between Tank and Next Level, and also throw in Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing in there as well with Healy out there. Not a shock to see these guys up in our top 8.
And we're going to go around one more time here before we get to this green flag. But let's see how long these guys can go. I know the last couple of races that we've had, the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, we've had a couple of very quick cautions as people try to figure out how to race side by side.
Yeah, a couple quick cautions. Hopefully we avoid them, but the first thing we're going to see is green flag racing here at Richmond.
And here we go. Landon Lacey takes off. James Holtzer not letting him get any distance at all. Of course,
and one behind already. The 48.
That's Kyle Johnson.
10. Yeah, it's a bad start for guys named Kyle here. So it's Kyle Johnson, Kyle Benson involved.
And Kyle Spies as well.
Kyle Spies in this. That was a tough break, and I don't think the entire field got past the line. And with how iRacing kind of gets a little buggy with that one, this might be a little bit of a long caution here, as this is going to have to get sorted out. But let's see what happened here on our very first Beer Street Journal Rec replay of the night, and it happens before the leaders even get to turn 1.
Yeah, Kyle Johnson gets a little, he gets a little squirrely, and then, yeah, just just kind of loses the car there. I didn't see any contact before that happened, but we'll take a look. And then he gets into Dean Brummett there as well.
Oh, that's a tough break there for Brummett. It just Kyle trying to get that car going, and I mean that's would have been good if he held the brake there a little bit, to be honest. But as you see him get turned around, hits Michael Politis, hits his teammate Bo Brady there.
Yeah, Scott Kalal involved.
Yeah,
Dean
Craig Lautenschlager got slowed up just behind it, so he missed. Good job by him in the 13. But looking at 6 cars taking heavy damage here before they even reach turn 1.
I'm checking to see on Kyle Spees to see if maybe he got it woed up in time to not really. He did. It just seems like he just kind of let this thing play out in front of him. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. 180 laps. You got a long way to make your way back up front. If a few guys are going to get by you in that process, perfectly fine. Just take your time on that one. And yeah, I mean that's just tough. It's a little bit of a surprise here at times where you get through practice and you're not really thinking about practicing those starts and restarts and how those cold tires are going to react when you hit on the throttle. And some people are going to try to game this one and maybe try to start and get that launch in first gear. Some are going to do second gear. To me, I'm a second gear guy around here. I like that stability. But I'm not going to say that that's what Kyle Johnson had. Maybe he was in first gear, maybe not. But cold tires on these starts sometimes sneak up on you.
Yeah, Landon Lacey with a brand new sponsor this season with Mid-South Coatings there, who they do powder coating for guns and stuff like that. So kind of a neat sponsor that he's kind of put together. And while we're kind of on him there, you can see those angel wings on the front. A lot of our drivers are driving with those angel wings on there for Lucas Lyons. Had a friend that lived right here in Richmond and right outside the track, actually, named Christopher Clary, who unfortunately passed away 10 years ago. And so this is what a lot of the drivers in our league are doing to kind of show their respect to not only Christopher Clary, but also to Lucas Lyons, one of our Truck Series drivers. Yeah,
it was a really cool gesture from a lot of the drivers. I know about half the field in the Truck Series had that. I know a lot of us had it in the Xfinity side as well. And there's plenty that are running the same decal in some form or another here tonight on the Cup side. So just a cool, classy gesture there to pay respect to somebody's friend and somebody that was a part of Richmond here.
Yeah, and anytime something like that happens to one of our Speed Racing Network family here, it is really awesome how quickly all of our drivers step up to at least help out or pay their respects or however you want to call it. But even though we do battle out here on the track, this is really it's a good family as well.
Yeah, and that to me is really the best word for it. And you know, it is a family. It's a bit of a brotherhood, kind of a fraternity, however you want to put that. And every now and then, yeah, you're going to get people that are upset with each other and kind of get on each other a little bit. But at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing and for the same reasons. And there's a lot of mutual respect there.
Well, it looks like we've got it all sorted out here. It took us a good 5 laps to do it, but we're about to get this party started again. And Landon Lacey takes off, and again, James Holtzer on his outside.
We're going to get the whole field into turn 1 this time as we're going to get going here and getting sorted out single file pretty quickly throughout the top 8 as Landon Lacey going to get out in front of James Holtzer. Scott Healy will be in third, but you got to go back a good way here to get some side-by-side racing. I think it's back around 10th and 11th for that first side-by-side spot.
Yeah, you got to think this is really good strategy for Next Level Racing, Next Level Motorsports. Sorry, that for the top 5 is Next Level Motorsports, and so if they can get lined up and just kind of start to save those tires immediately, then they're going to be great on the long run.
Yeah, and that's something that you do have to plan on. You know, I think if you only saw the Truck Series race, you might be thinking, well, they're probably not going to see too many long runs around this track. But now that you're seeing, you see a little bit of smoke there going down the backstretch.
Yeah,
no caution,
Holtzer's blinking out.
Yeah, he is blinking for sure, and you can see that gap actually forming, and I think part of that's going to be Scott Healy just not knowing where Holtzer is, and so there's that little bit of just hesitancy of wanting to push forward when you start blinking like that, and all that is just a server thing where you're just kind of not getting that full connection to the iRacing server, and it just kind of like cuts you out of there for a split second, sometimes a little bit longer. So we do have our policy in there about blinking. If it becomes too much of a nuisance, you do get not I don't want to say penalty, but you do get penalized for it in a way where you wind up having them either move out of the way or you're going to be sent to the end of the line or go down pit road.
Yeah, the way these computer systems are, if you're blinking out because of bad internet or whatever it is, and your computer registers that you are on a certain part of the track, and then someone else's computer registers that they're on that certain part of the track as well, and then you blink back in, then all chaos happens. And so we do everything we can to kind of avoid that. But it looks like he's got it all sorted out now. He's been pretty solid for the last couple laps.
And sometimes that's what happens too. For those that aren't familiar, it kind of is weird where under caution or right after a restart, when everybody's grouped up, it kind of just makes it where it's a little bit harder on the system to really want to get that good connection there because there's so much going on around. But then once the field spreads out, those things go away sometimes. So that does happen here and there. But speaking of spread out, we're really getting spread out here throughout really the top 20. I don't see side-by-side racing a good way back.
Well, we got Dean Brummett, who's trying to make up those positions really quickly. He is up 8 spots already after getting a little bit of a touch there on that last caution. And so he is on the move. And like we said before, he loves these short tracks.
That race winner here at Richmond last season, which was about at this point in the season too. And he is making quick work through the field. Did not put a lap in qualifying, so he started back in 26th, already up to the 18th position in just a handful of green flag laps.
I mean, sometimes these drivers, they love to do that to where they don't have a qualifying lap, so they start from the back because it's a lot of fun to drive through the pack like this, especially when you have the speed of a Dean Brummett and the talent of a Dean Brummett. Same thing goes for Seth Berger, just a few spots ahead of him. He's up 9 spots there in the 77. So he started off in 24th position. He is up in 15th already. And so these guys, I mean, it's a lot of fun to pass people. It's more fun to lead the race, in my opinion, but some people don't like to ride around for 180 laps just leading.
Yeah, well, wow, we had one get sideways there a little bit in the 83.
That's Chris Massey.
That's Chris Massey, as it looks like there might have been a little contact there with him and Bo Brady, or maybe just getting loose coming out of turn 2, but they do keep it going forward. You see that damage there on the 19 of Bo Brady from that original caution. And tight spot there coming out of turn 2. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun getting around cars, and you can do it pretty well here at Richmond. It's I always like saying it's a good driver's racetrack. It's not something that you only have one line. You can kind of fight each other out there a little bit and have some fun. I know on Thursday after the race, we had a few drivers saying that this group that there was a whole lot of crosses and jabs being thrown, and it was good physical racing, but there was nobody that ever took it too far within that group. And I think that's a good way to describe it. Just good physical racing out here on this track, and it really makes for good racing.
Up here in the top 10, up in 6th, Dalton Tucker, he's up 4 positions. So he's the biggest mover inside of our top 10 right now. Started off in 10th, up in 6th right now, and knocking on the door of Gabriel Ellison, trying to break up this next level motorsports sandwich here.
And Dalton has been very fast this season, and you can kind of see it in flashes pretty much every single race. He's had at least one run, if not more than that, where you just look at him and just go, man, if he can get this full race going together, that's going to be a contender for a race win. So there's been a lot of speed, just been getting caught up in things here and there. So it's been tough for the 73 to really get a complete race consistently here, but this is another look at how fast he is getting around a racetrack.
Moving back just a little bit, we got some side-by-side back here with Seth Berger and the 19 of Bo Brady. Bo's got a little bit of damage there, you can see, but it looks like Seth Berger's going to try to get down to the inside and get something done here.
It's tough. It's obviously the preferred line here is going to be on the inside, which is the case for most of the short tracks that we have. But the one thing that's tough about it is hard to get that good run out of turn 4, out of turn 2, and really build up that momentum, because it's just a little tight, and you want to be pushing up as far as you can to build up that speed, as you see the 77 there do as he clears Bo Brady in the 19. But it does kind of slow you up just that little bit on the inside. It's still a preferred line, but it might take a little bit longer than you would imagine on a short track to get by.
Yeah, those guys got that sorted out really well. That's a tough spot to do, especially 23 laps into a tire run here. As tires start to fall off a little bit, cars get a little bit lighter, they float a little bit freer. So it's a little bit difficult to keep this thing going.
Yeah, and this is about that point. I would say 20 green flag laps is where you really start seeing that drop off hit pretty heavily, and you start feeling the looseness of the car start picking up, where it just doesn't want to grip as well. I think you'll see the times fall off, but this is the point where you see the grip really start to fall.
So Timothy Latham up here in 4th position. So he started off in 3rd. He's back down just 1 spot. But right now he just seems content just to get around this track, kind of save those tires up a little bit. Same thing up front with Landon Lacey and James Holtzer. Not a lot of battles taking place up here. I think they're both just kind of getting into their groove and just seeing how long this thing will go before another caution.
Yeah, they're more than happy to see that close racing for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, where they're separated by about a half second. They'll let them fight that out. These three are just going to continue to pull away as you see them over a second, almost a second and a quarter, back from Healy to Latham. So they've opened up a large gap, and they've still got maybe a few laps here before they start coming up on some lap traffic. So they're going to enjoy this kind of little bit of a relaxing run out here at this point with that gap that they have. So they can just kind of conserve as much as they can before they have to start dealing with some of the back markers on this lead lap.
Oh yeah, here on lap 28 now. I mean, this is not the time to be throwing haymakers if you're on the same team, especially. So I think they're just going to push each other around the track, just kind of take it a little bit easy here, because they, a lot of people try to do the undercut move here, and we saw on and there's a caution. So. But we saw on Thursday night that the undercut didn't really work for David Duke.
Yeah, it's a risky proposition here, and now the question is going to be, will we see anybody come down pit road after about 20 laps? I would agree, especially if you're in the back half of the field, as we see the 50 car of John Honeycutt slow on the racetrack. See what happened to him here on our second Beer Street Journal Rec replay of the night. There's that gold and white number 50. Just gets loose off of turn 2. It's real squirrely. Almost saves it, but then just kind of hooks it a little bit farther, and it goes into that inside wall. Pretty decent impact to the front end of that car. So curious to see if he's got any engine damage that's going to be needing a pretty lengthy repair. Hopefully for his sake it does not, but he almost put that amazing save on that car for as loose as that was out of turn 2.
Yeah, and I mean, it is so tough off these corners because you want to get into that gas so quickly, just because you don't want to lose time on the people in front of you. And a little bit of damage there. I don't think that's going to be a killer, though.
No, he probably will be okay. It's just those front impacts get me a little nervous, just because sometimes iRacing, it'll give you a little bit more than you think, and sometimes it won't give you as much as you think. So that'll be something we'll have to check back in on. But the leaders on pit road, and Landon Lacey going to retain that lead with a good stop and a good run in and out of pit road, and our top 3 going to stay the same.
Yeah, and again, we see a little bit of blinking there under caution, and that's to be expected under caution. One thing that I noticed here, Scott Healy fell back on this one. So back in, looks like 6th place right now. So fell from 3rd place all the way back to 6th.
Not too sure what happened there. See if I can take a look at something and see what might have happened, but there's a chance he may have had just a little damage and wanted to get that repaired. Also possible, just you miss your pit stall just a little bit, and that's all it takes, is just that little split second to kick you back a couple spots.
Yeah, it looks like his pit lane time was about 2.5 seconds slower than anyone else's, so must have had a little bit of trouble getting into the pit. The pit stall itself was right on time as far as everybody else, but his pit lane time was a little bit slow, so that will drop him back to 6th position. But again, this early into the race, that's not a bad position to be in, but the one thing that's going to drive everybody nuts right now is the top 4 are all Next Level Motorsports.
Yeah, they are holding steady up in front still. Dalton Tucker going to have an interesting run here to see if he can do a little bit more to break up that party, though. We've already just shown him moving up from 10th up to the 5th position. Now he's got those cars right back in front of him. Doesn't have to manage that 1.5 gap or so to reach the top 3. So I'm curious to see if he can make a move here and start messing with this line of next level cars.
Yeah, looking through the pack right now, I'm seeing Nick Gowen from Next Level Motorsports. Once again, another Next Level Motorsports guy. He is our biggest mover so far of the race, so up 12 spots from the very beginning. Emerson Ardon up 11 spots as well, and then Austin Reedy and Andrew Lewis both up 10 spots. So definitely some big movers right now. They are on their way.
Yeah, and this is a track that you can do that, especially with what we saw on lap 1, right on that start with a handful of drivers getting some damage. That's going to give that a little bit of an opportunity as well. But just if you can get comfortable on the track, this is another one of those places where you'll see some people qualify really well, but then just not be able to maintain that kind of a pace once you get into the race kind of situations. And then there's going to be some guys that just aren't quick around here, but they can hold on to that pace for a long time when it comes to this race style. And I think that's what you start seeing here with some of these guys moving through the field.
And as we're getting all stacked up, the pace car is going to dive off in corners 3 and 4. And Landon Lacey, once again, will get the restart with James Holtzer on his outside. But, man, he's got a lot of teammates up there to help him.
Yeah, the entire front 2 rows just all next level as they are going 1, 2, 3, 4, sorting it out quickly. Scott Healy going to try to hold on the outside and get around Timothy Latham possibly. He's got the nose there alongside that right rear tire, trying to make that outside line work early as he's going by himself just about. You got to go back to Austin Reedy in 10th for the next car running the high line.
Ooh, the champ is making moves already this race, and maybe this is time to do it with brand new tires and, not much to lose here. Oh, got a little bit loose there. Timothy Latham just kind of backs out of it and decides, go ahead, take the spot.
Yeah, that's a smart play there. Just backing out of that, saying, all right, yeah, that's cool. If you're going to push it that hard, I'll let you go on this point. Still got about 150 laps to go. But that outside line, it once everything kind of wears out, it does lose a little bit of that power. But when everybody's bunched up on the inside, you can get some really good runs running on the outside, because sometimes you're going to get some people just kind of going with the car in front of them on the inside, and they might slow up just a little bit because maybe somebody checks up in front, maybe somebody in front of them just kind of takes it a little bit easier, and it bunches everybody up on the inside. If you're confident enough on the outside, make it work and hold some pace, you can kind of whip around some guys early in this run.
That was a really, really interesting moment there. It looked like David Duke was considering taking it 3 wide. They got into the corner, and David had to bail out of it. And so he falls backwards while I believe Ty Cole moves forward a little bit, and now Ty is working on Emerson Ardon.
And we were talking about it a little bit earlier. I don't recommend 3 wide around here, but I think in the Cup cars, a little bit more feasible than it was on the Xfinity side on Thursday night. There's a little bit better downforce around this track. You can probably pull it off, I think, maybe a little bit better in 3 and 4 than in 1 and 2. But we might see that as this race goes a little bit farther. Maybe David Duke decides to make that move work, as we got more trouble here in the back, right in the front straightaway in the grass, and it's Craig Lautenschlager, and I believe that's Ty Cole in 12.
That's Andrew Lewis. That's
Andrew Lewis, excuse me.
In the 12. So Ty Cole's teammate. But let's go back and find out what happened with these two.
So quick back to our Beer Street Journal Rec Replay, 3rd time. Did not get that long run like we did on this first one. We got side by side here, 3 wide. Byron McDonald way up on the outside, and I think the 12 of Andrew Lewis just trying to give that little bit of space, and don't think that was caught onto by Craig Lautenschlager quick enough, and just they kind of go into the same spot at the same time. Just trying to give that room to the 3 of Byron McDonald. And yeah, I just don't think 13 of Lautenschlager knew he was going to be there that low.
Yeah, and we just said it before all that stuff happened. 3 wide, so tough to do anywhere, but especially on a short track.
It is difficult, and I think if there was a little bit more, you can see him just kind of pushing up there, trying to get that run. So I think that tells you that there's the space to do it. It's just you have to be very precise in that move, and 3 cars can do it, and 2 might be able to do it perfectly well, and there might be one that just kind of slips up just an inch or 2, and that's what's going to throw it off, and that's what makes that 3 wide situation real tough on these short tracks.
Yeah, 3rd caution in 40 laps here, and so definitely a little bit tougher out there right now than it was even on Thursday night. They ended up with 9 cautions for the night on Thursday nights, so really, it's a short track race. That's really what it comes down to. So you have to expect some cautions on a short track typically, and so I think they're going to get it settled down here. I think everybody wants some green flag laps, and I think everybody's just going to kind of back off a little bit and let's just get some green.
We had 9 on Thursday. I think I was somehow involved in about 5 of them. But, yeah, I mean, I think Thursday was a good indicator, too. You know, we had a couple early cautions, kind of getting everything settled in. And then the middle of the run, we had a pretty good long green flag stint there in that middle portion of the race. I feel like that's about to happen here in this race as well.
I mean, frankly, I'm surprised that Brandon Domain is even in the booth with me here tonight because I said his name so many times on the broadcast. I put such a big broadcaster's curse on him that night. I'm surprised that he is even still speaking to me.
Well, the best part looking back was I don't think my name was even mentioned from the green flag until like lap 80, and then it was lap 90 when everything started going wrong.
The broadcaster's curse is a real deal, but hey, man, we get paid to call the races. We got to call the race.
Yeah, we can't. We have to throw out names occasionally. So
the blue car is in front right now. Don't want to mention his name because don't want to curse him. And the orange and black car right behind.
Well, I tell you what, how serious that this jinx has gotten. Last night, I'm watching the race at Daytona and texted a friend and said, "Man, Corey LaJoie is looking really good." And then a lap later, there goes Corey LaJoie all the way towards the back. So
can't
even in the races, yeah, the races we're not even calling. It's a real thing.
Well, we will see if we can kind of keep some order here. I believe we're going to get the 1 to green signal here, but let's run through the pack here really quickly, at least through the top 10. So you got Landon Lacey up front, just like he has been pretty much the entire race. James Holtzer in second, holding that spot the entire race as well. Gabriel Ellison up in third, up 2 spots from where he started. Scott Healy in fourth, exactly where he started. And Timothy Latham down a couple spots from where he started, but still in that 5th position, just like the number on his car.
Yeah, and then right behind him, Dalton Tucker, pretty good mover so far from 10th up to 6th. Reese Schaefer will be in 7th. Austin Reedy picking up a dozen spots to move up to the 8th spot. In 9th is going to be Joshua Balliet, and rounding out the top 10 will be Max Service in the 81.
There he is. All right, and already a little bit of bumping going on before the green flag, so we will see how that all shakes out, but Landon Lacey going to bring us to the green once again.
Another clean start there, but not really getting that much of a pull away from the 42 with James Holtzer, but seeing how they have that team communication, think that'll sort itself out. But the big mover here is going to be Austin Reedy. It's Scott Healy is going to be the big mover. Sorry about that. I was thinking about the wrong car. As Healy sitting there on the inside trying to work his way around Gabriel Ellison, and he might break up this top 3 that has been Lacey, Holtzer, and Ellison really since the start of this race.
Yeah, Ellison gets kind of far up the track there, so that's going to kind of open the door for Scott. Scott can't walk through just yet, it doesn't look like. Let's see if he can hold on to it through this corner, or is Gabriel going to get a good run?
And good hard racing there. It's going to go to Ellison here as he's going to get clear of that 64. And they're going to get sorted back out single file all the way back to around maybe 20th. As we got a long single file run right now.
Yes, we do. I think the first one's back here. This is Seth Berger and Byron McDonald side by side. Right in front of them, Russ Bovair, and he is doing battle with, I believe that's Christopher Lawrence in the 99 on the outside.
But even then, they're still giving each other a lot of space here. I think once one gets cleared, they're just going to kind of settle in for a bit. I think everybody knows at this point, we've seen a couple quick cautions here after that decent run after the first one. We had a couple back-to-back right on top of each other. And I think everybody knows this is a long, long race, and to make it to the finish, or to have a shot at a quality finish, you got to make it there. So I think everybody's going to be starting to give a little bit more.
Well, I think everybody always says they want a clean race, and everybody says they want good green flag pit stops and that sort of thing. I think if we get to green flag pit stops here, that this entire field is going to go all over the place because so many strategies will be playing out.
Well, everybody says they want a good, clean race, but what they really mean is I want everybody around me to race clean while I make these aggressive moves, and they work with me while I do it. I think that's probably about 95% of drivers out there. But, yeah, I think we start seeing this green flag run. I think that's going to be where things kind of shake out is if we start seeing those green flag pit stops, you're going to see different tire wear positions, going to see different speeds on the track. I think that's going to be where this gets really sketchy should we get to those green flag pit stops.
Yeah, Kyle Spees, his grandmother's out in the crowd right now. She is always tuning in, so we appreciate her being here. But he is trying to make the move there on Scott Kalal. This is kind of back in the pack. This is for 16th position. But look at Kyle Spees. He started off in 30th, and he's up in 16th. So that's saying something.
That's saying plenty. We've got a few big movers out there, but I think it is Kyle Spees that's the biggest mover here thus far.
It is.
He's up 14 spots now, so yeah, he is the biggest mover on the racetrack, and that's something he has to do, being that first driver outside of that playoff cut line, as this is halfway in the regular season.
Scott Healy still trying to track down Gabriel Ellison here, but starting to fall off a little bit. But Dalton Tucker got around Timothy Latham, and now he is working hard on Scott Healy.
Oh, there we go. Dalton Tucker taking that peek onto the inside. He had a good run out of turn 2. Not sure if the 64 of Healy got a little bit loose or if it was just that strong of a run for Tucker in the 73, but he made that look incredibly
Yellow
easy.
flag again.
And now we got caution out on the track. See Michael Politis slow.
I see
think
Byron
behind
McDonald
him is
there.
Yeah, that's Byron McDonald. Wasn't sure if that was him or Seth Berger. They have similar colors, but it is Byron McDonald in the 3. Always tough to keep up with him with the different paint scheme every week. He's got a lot of time to do that, but they always do look great. I will give him that as we check out our 4th Beer Street Journal Rec replay of the night.
I think Dean Brummett got a piece of this as well. We will find out very shortly as Politis on the ins. Oh, wow. Okay, that was Christopher Lawrence. That was sideways. So everybody else just kind of got caught up into it.
Yeah, he got turned, and then it was just the accordion effect behind him as it was Politis and McDonald. It was McDonald the first one to catch up to Lawrence, and they got a little bit of help there, and that was really, yeah, it was the 9 of Russ Beauvert that kind of checked up there just a little bit in the middle of the turn, and that kind of backed everybody else up just that little bit. And when Christopher Lawrence checked up, the 77 of Seth Berger was kind of the one that was on the slow reaction there. And there's always going to be that one. It's not anything bad. It's just, sometimes you get caught off guard, and he definitely got caught off guard and did not get checked up in time. Just tapping that 99, sending it around, and then Byron McDonald got piled in. Michael Politis got in it as well. I think Dean Brummett did get slowed up enough to miss this, though.
We will find out. We will see that wreck happening right in front of him. And he does a great job of just getting it locked down.
Yeah, he might have lost a couple positions doing so, but that car will not take any more damage as you see him going by. As that caution came out, a couple more got by him, so they're resetting all that. But that was a great job there, and a good look at, you don't always have to punch it to try to avoid a wreck. You can just stop and let everything play out, and you'll get your spots back on iRacing with the way that works.
Really interesting here. New leader, Ty Cole. He did pit just like everybody else, but his pit stop only took 7 seconds. I'm not even sure that's tires at all.
Yeah, it's either 2 tires or he just took fuel. I think as close as that was to the last round of pit stops, I'm thinking he might have taken 2 tires. Don't have anything I can confirm that with, but that's going to be my guess. And I don't think that's going to be too bad of a play here. There's going to be a little bit of an awkward feeling in that car, I think, for the first couple laps while those tires kind of equalize just a little bit and you get some heat into those right sides. Should he have taken 2 tires? Because I don't think they've really put enough laps on there to really cause an imbalance. So that's not a bad call, I don't think, by the 41, but we're going to have to see that one play out. I could be completely wrong, but I think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, Ty Cole from Ramsey Cole Racing swinging for the fences here. And, hey, sometimes you get a grand slam out of it. I mean, you got to go for it. That's all you can do. But this is the first time that Landon Lacey is going to not be on the restart as far as on the green flag. So going to be interesting to see how he reacts to this, as well as James Holtzer and Gabriel Ellison right behind.
And that's what I'm almost more curious about, is how the next level guys are going to handle this restart, because we've seen it before where they had the top 3 on every single restart, if not the top 4, being out in front, and they can communicate with each other and get it sorted out real quick. Now they have to go based off somebody else. I'm not sure they're going to be able to have as easy of a time to do that. Their communication's going to have to be pretty strong if they want to get that sorted out. But you also have Dalton Tucker sitting right there, Scott Healy in row 3 as well, so they're going to be pushing them from behind. I don't think they're going to really have a chance to get this sorted single file as quickly as they want.
You know, speaking of Dalton Tucker, out there in the chat, Edward Tucker, I'm assuming some sort of relation there, says, drive like your mother. I'm leaving that one completely and totally alone. Just wanted to be sure it got the mention on the broadcast.
Give it the mention, and the only person that'll get in trouble on that one is Edward Tucker, I think. We won't touch that one.
All right, Ty Cole gets that restart, and he takes off. Doesn't get a fantastic restart there. I think Landon Lacey kind of jumped him, and he is going to pull out possibly in front. Let's see if Landon Lacey can clear him here going out of turn 2, and it looks like he will, and he will get that spot.
Yeah, he does get by him, and I think that's going to be a little bit of the cautious nature of, taking those 2 tires, having that little bit of an imbalance. Oh, he gets real tight up there. Now on the outside 3 wide, going into 1 and 2 on imbalanced tires. This is going to be a real sketchy feeling here for Cole in that 41.
Yeah, he is falling back very quickly. He is all the way back in 6th, about to get past for 7th, it looks like. So, yeah, and he will fall back to 7th now. So, rough going there, but now Landon Lacey retakes that lead. James Holtzer in 2nd, Gabriel Ellison in 3rd.
So I don't know who it was up here that said that was a good call. I'm not sure, but it is not a good call, as it's turned out. As Ty Cole starting to fall back nearly out of the top 10 at this point, sitting in 9th, now 10th. And he's going to go 3 wide again.
Oh,
and we got contact there, and they're wrecking. Big wreck by the start-finish line.
Yeah, Nick Goen was involved there. Joshua Siegfried in that beautiful Metallica Master of Puppets car is not as beautiful anymore.
Raul Meza in the grass. I believe that's Max Service in the 81. We're seeing
we're going to have to sort this thing out.
A lot of top 10 contenders tonight caught up in this one. And it was just everybody just getting all piled up there, coming out of turns 3 and 4. As you see that 3 wide, and I'm not sure if there was netcode or contact. It was close either way. Saw the 7 of Joshua Balliet in it. And just a lot of torn up race cars.
Yeah, trying to figure out exactly.
That might have been netcode between Service and Duke. Because the 81 of Max Service kind of hopped up there at a weird angle. So it's possible there was contact, but that's kind of a telltale sign of a little bit of netcode.
Oh, no. There was definitely some contact there.
Definitely contact, but the way it responded, a little bit awkward, but it just kind of popped up and just went straight to the outside there. Just the way that it did it was what caught me off guard and made me think netcode, but definitely not on that one. But we're looking at maybe 8-9 cars caught up in this one.
And Dean Brummett, once again, I think he got through this possibly. He did. Wow. Dean Brummett is a wheeler, man.
And he picking up after Bubba Wallace yesterday with all those wrecks he missed at the end of that race at Daytona. Just all the seas parting every single time. Dean Brummett, once again, the seas parting for him in this one and just wheeling that thing away from any trouble for the 2nd consecutive caution. Great driving there from the man in the 25.
Well, as we head back up front, nobody really pitted this time unless they were kind of involved in that deal. So it looks like Landon Lacey, James Holtzer, and Gabriel Ellison will retain those positions in the top 3. Just a quick check-in on Ty Cole. He did come into pit to take all 4 tires this time around. Probably a smart move. I mean, hey, like I said, you got to swing for the fence. It just didn't work out this time. That's all.
Yeah, it's early enough. You got to try something every now and then, and there's I won't say no harm, no foul, because we did see how that all turned out and just losing a lot of spots, and that was a little bit of a factor in what happened there with that caution coming out. But you got to try it every now and then. There's no way to really know how it's going to work in practice. You kind of have to do some things in race situations, and that just did not pay out how he intended it.
Going back and checking on Kyle Spees here, again, still the biggest mover of the race, 19 spots up. He is flirting with the top 10. He's in 11th right now, and he's got David Duke right in front of him. So flirting with that top 10 after starting off in 30th.
Just a monster run, and amazingly enough, looking at 11th through 15th, all of them started worse than 20th. So we've got a lot of guys on the move and threatening those top 10 spots. I mean, David Duke started 19th. He's up to 10th. Kyle Benson started 16th, up to 9th. Austin Reedy, 20th, up to 8th. We're seeing a swarm of drivers make their way into or towards the top 10.
And what's crazy is it's not just wrecks happening around them and then they take the benefit of the spot. They are driving through the pack. I mean, this is not, a couple of guys have gone down, but this is not one of those things where you sit back and let everybody else wreck around you and then you take the spot away. These guys are actually moving up. One of them that we keep keying in on, and we're going to keep keying in on him because he is just driving this car, is Dean Brummett. He has basically missed the last 3 cautions by inches, and he is still up there in this race, just really doing some damage.
Yeah, and the only damage that he's got on that race car came from after he missed the wreck on lap number 1, and there was just a little follow-up contact that he had. Other than that, he has done a fantastic job missing all the trouble on the racetrack, but also putting that car in good spots away from those cautions and making a lot of clean passes.
Well, the pace car once again will dive off, and again, Landon Lacey takes that restart. A little bit of blinking there from James Holtzer, but they get across that line. I think that'll kind of clear itself up as the green flag goes on a little bit. Dalton Tucker getting up on the outside there of Gabriel Ellison, trying to make that move early.
Yeah, and I thought Scott Healy was going to try to slide up in front of Reese Schaefer coming out of turn 2, chose not to do so and follow Gabriel Ellison, and he's actually going to lose a little bit of spots there because Ellison checked up into 3 a little bit more than Healy thought, and he had to slow up himself and lost a little bit of that momentum, and now Reese Schaefer looking to make a run into the top 5 for the first time tonight.
Yeah, he's going to get that on the outside as long as he can get clear. Oh, they're just side by side. Great racing going on up here.
Good racing. They're 2 by 2 by 2 racing for 5th back to 11th. And just good side by side racing. We got tight coming out of turn 2 between Duke and Benson. They're going to make it work. Timothy Latham sitting there right between them, just thinking, please don't make that contact, because he was in a bit of a precarious position just in front of them. Not sure if his bumper was away, and there's David Duke. He got loose off of 4 and going through the grass. He's going to keep that thing straight. Everybody going to stay away from him. There's not a whole lot of runoff there coming out of the grass into turn number 1, but everybody going to make that work, but he's going to lose about a dozen spots.
Yeah, going back up towards the front here while David Duke gets things under control. Kyle Benson on the outside of Timothy Latham here. And so Timothy trying to keep that 8th spot. And it looks like he will coming off that corner.
A nice run out of 2, getting down that back straightaway. You see him pull away just that little bit. I think Latham's move is going to be that he kind of backs it up into the turn a little bit to get a stronger drive out of the turn. Which that's something that was kind of my preferred thing on Thursday with the way that the race was playing out. But I think that gives you just a good, strong run on the straightaways. Kind of sets you up pretty decently to make some passes on the exit. It does kind of leave you in a little bit of a troublesome spot, though, if somebody's right behind you going into the turn, though, if they're not ready for it. But I think that's a good conservation style as well. Should we get a long run, that should set up pretty well for Latham.
Yeah, looking up just a little ways here. Scott Healy up in the top 5 still, just kind of biding his time up here. But Dalton Tucker has made the move into the top 3 now, and he is pushing for second. He does not want these next level guys being teamed up.
He's doing a good job, and also hearing a little bit of chatter here. And I believe it's going to be about the 27 of Gabriel Ellison blinking. You see him blink there. I think he's being told to move towards the back of the field and stay out of the way, because he has been blinking pretty heavily here since the green flag, and I think since the last caution as well.
Yeah, he is going to drop to the bottom of the track and let everybody go by. So extremely classy move there by Gabriel Ellison, who was basically in the top 5, but those blinking issues can cause some serious accidents, especially here on a short track. So very classy move by him.
So there was a lot of talk about that one. He does have to drop to the back, and that's going to open up a window here for guys like Scott Healy, Reese Schaefer, Austin Reedy to have one less car to contend with there, and trying to make their way up towards this group of 3 that are really starting to pull away by about 0.6 of a second now. And Dalton Tucker is really fitting in with both Lacey and Holtzer and being one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, if not the fastest car on the racetrack.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier about Kyle Spees flirting with the top 10. Well, he's there. He's in 9th now, and he is pushing for 8th here with Kyle Benson on the outside.
And he's got that inside line, good position here. See if he can get that run off of 4, but it's going to be Benson carrying that momentum down the front straightaway, getting a good run down into turn number 1 as he had a great bit of momentum on the front stretch, and he's going to pull away just enough. Outside look for James Holtzer, but that's actually going to open up the inside door for Dalton Tucker, who had a good run on the inside. They're going to be a little bit side by side, but he's going to get loose off of 4 and lose all that momentum that he had.
Yeah, it looked like Holtzer was considering an outside move on his own teammate there, but I'm not sure if he thought better of it or if that car just floated up the track a little bit too much.
Yeah, that was kind of a hard one to judge. I'm not sure if he was trying to make that pass. He might have just drove it in a little bit deep or just kind of missed the line just a hair. And that you don't have to do much to really miss this line and slide up the racetrack here at Richmond. If you just get a little deep, maybe 1/10 of a second or even less than that past your braking point, it'll shoot you up the racetrack pretty quick.
You know, one guy that we talked about last run was Ty Cole, who he either took 2 tires or no tires and just fuel. Well, he came back in and got 4 tires. Now, the side effect of that is he's got brand new tires while everybody else has, 10-lap old tires, and he has moved all the way back up into 11th, and he's passing people like they're standing still.
Yeah, 10 laps here, and that was really about 6 green flag laps. You're looking at 0.3 of a second faster or so early on in this run until those tires kind of level off. So that's going to be a big factor there. It doesn't take a whole lot to have that. Now, I don't know how that'll play out, if anybody's going to consider anything like that, if we get the caution late in this race, just because, the intensity ramps up. People are going to be more aggressive on blocking than they are at this point. But that speed difference with that little bit of fresher tires is showing that that's going to be something to definitely consider late in the race. And if you want to be gambling and taking tires.
Yeah, still almost 100 laps to go here. So tons and tons of time for these strategies to all play out. But we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if we get a long green flag run here. That could bode very well for Ty Cole, even though it looked really bad to start off with.
Back up front, you see Landon Lacey taking a look on the inside. That's Joshua Siegfried going a lap down, or I believe another lap down here. Yeah, that is his 2nd lap down for him. But that also kind of tightened it back up there. We saw Lacey starting to pull away just a bit from Holtzer and Tucker, but that is starting to close as he's having to deal with this lap traffic now. Raul Meza getting on the driver chat, kind of directing traffic a little bit, saying, I'll move out of the way here, saying that he noticed that the leaders are coming up. So a good gesture there. And they're still tight, though, all 3 of them within a half second here in this race for the lead.
Yeah, and while we don't require people to get out of the way, it is really a good, classy thing to do. When you're racing against the same guys for 20 weeks, you want to be known as the guy that's going to help have a clean race out there. You don't want to be known as the guy that holds up the entire group and that sort of thing. And so, really good move by Raul Mesa there.
Yeah, I mean, we always kind of talk about, there's different reputations that drivers have. And if you're somebody that works with people over the first 10, 15, 19 races over the course of the season, and you have that good reputation, you're not going to get raced as aggressively as some of the drivers that have that reputation of they're just going to throw their nose in there and they're going to try to wreak havoc, or if they're going a lap down, they're going to fight you. That comes back to bite you a little bit. You kind of have to pick your spots on that kind of thing. And if you're just off pace, just get out of the way if you're not racing for position yourself, and just make life easy, and that'll help you out in a long way as the season goes on.
One of those guys with an incredible reputation. I don't think there's a single person in this entire series that doesn't actually like this guy and respect this guy, going back to Dean Brummett here. And again, I mean, he's raced his way through a lot of these incidents here tonight. But I mean, look at him. He could have taken that really hard on Kyle Spees right there. He could have made a bad move there, but he backed off and he said, you know what, I've got plenty of time to do this. And then he gets that spot away from Kyle Spees. And again, just one of those drivers that is super clean, spick and span. I mean, he's just one of those guys, and you can just talk to him over the radio, and he is just a decent human being. And that's why he does really well here. He has good finishes, but a lot of people, when he finishes well, everybody's congratulating him because everybody likes him.
Yeah, he's one of those popular drivers, and it's for good reason. I can't really add a whole lot more than what you said there. He's just a very likable person, very clean driver on the track too. Believe it, he was second place in the clean driver rankings last season, only behind Gabriel Ellison, who had just the most absurd run of clean driving of anybody I've ever seen. I think that was like 5-6 races in a row for Gabriel Ellison without an incident point. That's the only reason Dean Brummett wasn't the cleanest driver last season. So you're looking at somebody that's just a very patient, very clean driver, and just a very likable guy.
Yeah, he has come out on the broadcast before, and he has said, look, if you're going to take this position away from me, go ahead and take it. I'm running my own race here. I'll catch up to you later. I'm not going to sit there and try to hold you up too much. So, again, just a very, very classy guy, somebody that I just enjoy speaking to, not just on the track but off the track as well. So, Landon Lacey still leads this thing. James Holtzer, his teammate, right behind. Dalton Tucker, Scott Healy, they've kind of lined out a little bit here, and they've got a little bit of room between them now. Now it's everybody thinking about this long run.
Yeah, and they've kind of fallen off just that little bit. Now, whether that is by just pushing a little too heavy at the start or it's by choice is something that we'll have to see how that plays out. But they have lost that little bit of ground, but it's not too bad of a thing right now. We've still got about 83 laps to go in this race. Still a long way to go. Everybody's still going to have to make a pit stop. I'm going to imagine we're going to see another caution, at least one tonight. So I think at this point, this is just kind of setting up for that final sprint to the finish here. After we get that next round of pit stops, it's all about positioning yourself at this point. And we talk about the patience of somebody like a Dean Brummett. At this point, it's really picking your spots on the track and just kind of setting yourself up for the ending stage.
Yeah, it looks like people are kind of calming down a lot out there right now. They all know they're on 40-lap old tires. They all know we're getting closer and closer to green flag pit stops. They're all trying to figure out, okay, am I gonna undercut this? Am I gonna come in early? Am I going to stay out as long as I possibly can and hope for a caution? What is my strategy here? And that's what I love about these short tracks when they do go green, is it turns from who's the most aggressive getting down in the corner to, okay, who can make this thing go the longest?
Yeah, and speaking of those longer runs, should we stay green the rest of the way, they will only need one more pit stop to get to the end of this, and that's going to come around lap 125 is when everybody's going to need to make a pit stop. You can go about 65, 70 laps. We had that caution in there since everybody made their pit stops, so it's going to be closer to 70 at this point. We had those stops at lap 57. You could feasibly see people start coming in around lap 115. I think that's going to be aggressive, though, because then you're banking on not seeing any extended laps beyond the scheduled distance of 180.
And there was almost a moment there between Joe Ruggles and James Holtzer, but Holtzer got through it just cleanly. I'm going to jump back really quickly and just mention this one more thing before I stop putting the broadcaster's curse on him about Dean Brummett here. Out in the chat, Tyler Murray says, Dean is a great dude, to be honest. Only guy not on my team that I will actually root for. And that just shows how much respect he has, that people that are not even on, that he's not even on their team are saying, man, I hope he does well.
Oh, yeah. And there's not many people out there in the league that I think anybody has negative opinions of at this point. But I think to have that positive of an opinion, and that's a great way to put it there, that not on my team, but I will pull for this person to do well. That is a very high compliment to give people. So that's a very great message to send out there, and that's a good example of it. I can think of a couple others in trucks and Xfinity that have similar. I think we saw a big reaction for Jonathan Byer after he got his first win. Very likable guy, and people were very excited to see him get that breakthrough win finally in the Truck Series. So there's a handful of guys like that in this league, in SRN, whichever division you're talking about. But Dean Brummett has been doing this for multiple seasons now, and really just one of the most popular drivers out there, and for good reason.
Landon Lacey still putting people a lap down here. It's not really hurting him too badly getting into the list lap traffic. In fact, he's expanded his lead out to about 0.8 of a second over James Holtzer. And so still working on that lead, just doing really, really well, getting out away from everybody. In fact, even dealing with Michael Politis here, just getting down to the inside there, and only lost 0.06 of a second there, which is pretty good for handling lap traffic.
Yeah, that's a skill that you only pick up by leading races, is just knowing how to deal with lap traffic, because it's different when you're the leader, having to make your way around these lapped cars. They're fighting, trying to stay on the lead lap or trying to hold on to a lucky dog position if they're already a lap down. They're going to be much more aggressive with you than they are going to be second place, third place, and on back. So that skill to make your way around the lap traffic, as we see Joe Ruggles stop there on the apron. Hopefully that does not bring out a caution, because we got a pretty good run going here. Not sure what's going on there for the 96.
I think he's just letting people go by, but I mean, yeah. When do you get back on the track there? So
honestly, if I'm in that position, I just tow out of the way.
Yeah, you got to get back on the track. It looks like he's
rolling,
going slowly, really slowly here, and he's going to get down below that line. So not really sure what's going on there with Joe. Hopefully everything's all right there, but Landon Lacey still out front, expanding that lead even further, trying to find if there's any side-by-side racing here. It looks like we might have something here between Seth Berger and Kyle Spies.
And this is going to be for the 10th position. Spies kind of backing up a little bit after making that charge through the field after this restart. Maybe those tires starting to wear out just a little bit as we get near the late stages of this fuel run. We only got about 15 laps until we're going to see people forced to make a pit stop. But this good, tight racing here coming up, as Berger has been a little bit quicker through the turns. I think it's a faster exit for Spies in the 36.
I mean, both of these guys started off in the 20s and 30s. So Seth Berger started off in 24th, Kyle Spies started off in 30th, and now they're battling for that 10th spot. So both of them charging through the pack. Another big charger, Austin Reedy, up 14 spots. He's up in 6th.
Good run for him. Not a surprise either. He has been very hot these past few weeks and just really getting consistent quality finishes on the track, and it's showing in the point standings as well. So he's making his way up towards the top once again, and that one car, yeah, a little bit of contact. It shouldn't be enough to really affect too much on that car at this track. Doesn't look like there's too much damage to it. It's real hard to have enough that's going to really affect the aero at this track and change how it handles.
Yeah, but anytime you scrub the wall and you have Timothy Latham there right behind you, that is a scary proposition, because he will just pass you so quickly.
Yeah, he is not afraid to make an aggressive pass when that door is open for him to do so. As you see him making that look onto the inside, this is going to be for the 6th position. And Austin Reedy, looks like he's just feeling a little uncomfortable in the turns. Not sure if that's more of a just kind of a little bit more of a mental thing, or maybe he did catch that at just a weird point, or those tires are just gone and he's trying his best to hang on to it. There's a whole lot of things that could be factoring in there, but he's hanging tight on the outside, and wow, I thought he was going to get cleared by the 5, but had a good momentum charge out of turn 4. Latham going to stick out that car just a little bit more. Might be able to slide up there and clear him out of turn 2, but once again, good momentum for the 1.
Not quite great side-by-side racing here. I think Timothy will eventually get this. It might be right here coming off this turn. I believe he's got it, but still great racing there. Oh, nope. Man, Reedy's just coming right back, and Byron McDonald up into the wall. No yellow yet. He's just trying to stay up on that wall and stay out of everybody's way as he ducks down the track just to kind of get out of the way, which is,
man, a sacrifice there at the nose.
A little bit. Whew. He is definitely having some trouble there. So, but he's still got that thing moving. No yellow flag yet, so we are still under green. And Landon Lacey has now expanded to 1.1 seconds after passing one of our playoff drivers from last season, Scott Kalal.
Yeah, he gets around Kalal, gets around Bo Brady as well, as they both go a lap down. We're now down to just 19 drivers on the lead lap here tonight, and that's a big factor, to the cautions that we've had, but also we've seen a couple now decently long green flag runs. This one has been pushing about 50 laps now since we saw our last caution, and these laps really ticking by as we're 2/3 of the way through this race.
Yeah, we almost had green flag pit stops on Thursday night. Once we got the first couple people in. Oh no, Scott Healy! There's a caution.
Well,
so
we
no
were
green
just talking
flag.
about
Yeah, no green flag pit stops here tonight.
And that is right on the verge of us having to see those green flag pit stops. And now everybody's going to be able to make it the rest of the way on the scheduled distance of 180 laps. So that's barring any green-white checkers. But let's take a look back at what happened here to one of the faster guys on the track, Scott Healy in the 64, defending champion, just loose out of turn number 4. And this late in the run, that is not a shock to see anybody just lose control of those tires, getting on exit, especially out of 4. That car just really wants to kick out on you with cold tires or with really worn tires like they are right now.
Now, here's the good news. He didn't touch anything. And so his car is still just fine. It'll bring out a caution, yes, but he'll come down into the pits just like everybody else, and he'll get some brand new tires, get some fuel, and get right back out there, I believe.
And what we were just talking about, only 19 drivers on the lead lap before that caution. Now we got the lucky dog, so we're at 20. So he's not going to fall back too incredibly far. It's going to be a lot of traffic to navigate. Obviously not what you want to see if you're a fan of Scott Healy, him having to go back towards going back to the end of the lead lap. But could have been a whole lot worse there.
Yeah, and let's see who gets off the pit road first. Obviously, Landon Lacey has that advantage of that number 1 pit stall and the lead, and he will get that first place right back. Or not. Bo Brady did not pit.
I believe he's got the lucky dog.
Okay.
So I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think he'll be sorting himself back out.
It scored him as the leader there for just a brief second, but it is going to be Landon Lacey and James Holtzer 1-2.
Yep, so we're going to continue to see Lacey, Holtzer, and Tucker 1, 2, 3, but it should be Reese Schaefer moving up to the 4th position, his highest position of the night, and he's starting to really come alive here late in this race. Had some good, strong speed late in that run, and I think he's just been real smart, just kind of picking his spots and making those passes and being real conservative with that car, and it's really playing out to his favor right now.
You know, Tank Racing and Rev Racing, both of them are really well known for conserving tires, and they practice on it constantly. They get out there in their team practices, and that is what they look at. They go on these long runs, and then they check their tires. They go on short runs, they check their tires. They do everything they can not to push those tires past the limit. So if there is a long green flag run, they come alive, and that is really something that we're used to seeing with the likes of Reese Schaefer from Tank and Dalton Tucker from Rev'd and you know, all of these Rev'd and Tank guys.
Yeah, and this race starting to play out to their favor, which I don't know if many people really expected on a short track like Richmond, which I think of the short tracks that we would typically see come up on a schedule: Richmond, Bristol, Martinsville. I think this is the one that promotes the best green flag racing just because it's a little bit easier to get around. There's a little bit more room. Bristol, the turns are just coming up on you every 3 seconds you're in a turn. And it's just so tight. Martinsville, the heavy braking. This kind of race is way different than any other short track, and I think it bodes for the best green flag racing. So I love seeing these races here, but there are some times you just don't see many green flag runs at Richmond. We saw that on Wednesday where it was just tough because you kept getting in those restarts where everybody's piled in and everybody trying to be aggressive, making up spots, and it just kind of compounded on each other. Tonight we're seeing good, clean racing for a couple of good runs here.
Well, now the curiosity is, you know, you got, 56 laps to go. So do you work hard this first little part of the run and maybe there's a caution that comes out and gives you that benefit of that track position? or do you hang back, save those tires for the end run when everybody else is slowing down to A, conserve tires, as well as B, conserve fuel?
The ultimate catch-22, I think, for drivers, especially if you're up front. If you game it like it's going to be a long run, it's going to be a short run. If you game it like it's going to be a short run, it's going to be a long run. Hopefully for these guys' case, it works out how they're intending, because it's been Lacey and Holtzer and Tucker out front all night.
Yeah, obviously some of these guys would love to see one more caution just to be sure they can make it the entire way. But again, I mean, if that caution happens in 25 laps, then you got to come in and pit for new tires. Otherwise, you're going to be a sitting duck.
Yeah, and that's a tough, precarious position when you're the leader, too. Should we see another caution around midway from now to the end of the race, I think everybody will come in, but there's always that little doubt. If it's 10 laps to go, or if it's 10 laps from now, what's everybody do? And there's a lot of times, whatever the leader does, everybody else is going to do something completely different.
Kyle Spees continues his charge forward as he is racing for 7th position here on Kyle Benson. So early in the race, we had a big incident with a lot of the Kyles in there. Oh, and Kyle, as soon as I say the word incident, he gets loose, and he is going to lose a bunch of spots.
And that's the tough thing when you're on the inside on cold tires early in this run. It takes about 2 or 3 laps for them to really start warming up. And if you're trying to pinch it down to the inside to keep it off the car on your outside, that car really wants to snap away on you. And we saw that play out there for the 36.
And we again had a little bit of blinking there from James Holtzer as you saw him fall down the list and then pop right back up in a second. So definitely admins are going to be watching that. But the battle here for 3rd place, Reese Schaefer and Dalton Tucker. Oh no, we got another yellow flag, and it might be Scott Healy again. Yeah, Scott Healy and John Honeycutt involved.
This was going into turn 1, coming out of the front stretch. It looked like there was just kind of that meeting in the middle for these two, but we'll see how that plays out. I kind of only caught a glimpse of it from my alternate view as we look at our Beer Street Journal rec replay, who reminds you for the 7th time tonight to please drink responsibly. And yeah, definitely 2 coming together at the same spot right around that start line. And Scott Healy this time unable to avoid any contact with the wall, but that was still relatively minor. And it was, the 50 of John Honeycutt caught the wall and obviously had to check up there. Great job in the 55 by Jordan Sailors of slowing up and missing contact with the 50, but not as lucky was Scott Healy in the 64, and that is a tough spot. You're running up front all night. You have a little bit of trouble that sets you into a bad position. Wow, great job by Sailors. And all of a sudden you're back in this pack where a lot of these things kind of happen, where you just get a little bit of contact with the car, or a car kind of catches the wall and it messes you up a little bit. That stuff doesn't happen as much up front. And so when you have a mistake that sets you back in the middle of the pack, I had this happen on Thursday. Stuff just suddenly starts happening around you, and it's an awful feeling.
It's a helpless feeling because, I mean, you get down on yourself for making that mistake to start off with, and then you're pushing so hard to try to get back into this thing, and then you just make another one. And I mean, on that one, that wasn't a Scott Healy mistake, obviously, but it's just one of those things where stuff happens around you, and he really wanted to get that lap back, but because he was involved in that caution, he won't be able to.
I talk about it from personal experience on Thursday, sitting around 13th, 14th position for a lot of that race. And then you get a little contact, shuffles you back 10 spots, and then you're back in that hornet's nest where there's a lot of side-by-side racing, a lot of guys trying to be aggressive to make their way back up through the field, and some guys that are slow because they're struggling and they're starting to fall back. And it just puts you in this weird position where there's a whole lot of different speeds going on around you. There's a lot of passes, a lot of aggressive moves, and just all kinds of stuff happens around you, and you get caught up in things a whole lot easier in the middle of the field than you do out in front. And like you said, helpless is a good word for it, because there's a lot of times something just happens and there's not a whole lot you can do.
Something interesting going on right now. Bo Brady just pitted. He's on the lead lap, okay? Just got brand new tires. And so he is going to have 10-lap newer tires than anyone else on the track. And, I mean, he was already towards the back of that lead pack anyway. That's a great move by Bo Brady, I think. That's a strong move.
Oh, yeah, no problems with that move at all. He was going to be 19th regardless. So he's still going to be sitting in that 19th spot. He might have been 18th, but only giving up one spot. I mean, with the damage that he's got, I don't think he's going to be pushing up to the front or anything there. That's pretty heavy damage, but he's still going to have some good pace here and maybe make his way up towards the top 10. And just having that little bit of security as well, that near the end of the run, his tires are going to have a little bit more grip than everybody else. Another interesting development here is something I heard on the driver chat. Landon Lacey, I do believe, going to take the outside on this start.
And that's something new, definitely. But, I mean, going back to Bo Brady, this is one of those things where you have to get every point you possibly can, not just for yourself, but for your team also, as right now he is the leading scorer for his team in this race. If he can just pick up 3 or 4 more spots, that's 3 or 4 more points in those team standings, that's 3 or 4 more points in your individual standings. And so any little bit helps. And so that's just a never say die attitude, which you have to respect that attitude.
Oh, and last season, how many drivers did we see, whether it be to make the playoffs or advance in the playoffs, where it came down to 1 point over whatever the first 13 races or the 3 races in that round? 1 point can make a huge difference at the end of the season.
Well, Landon Lacey getting a big run on the outside, kind of leaving James Holtzer out there in the dust, as Dalton Tucker is going to get a run on the outside of James Holtzer. But on new tires, I think Holtzer's going to be able to make this thing stick.
Yeah, they're looking good side by side, and Lacey kind of backing up a little bit on the entry of that turn, but still going to get a good drive out of turn 4 and pull that way and regain that about 1/10 of a second he lost going into the turn. Saw a little bit of smoke in the back of the pack, but no caution. Everybody good. Maybe just a little bit of contact there as Holtzer and Tucker still side by side for a second consecutive lap. This is some great racing for second.
Yeah, it looked like Holtzer might have been able to clear him there, but just didn't get up to the top in time to do that. And I believe Nick Goen kind of went off the track a little bit there, but it looks like we're still green. So we're still going as finally James Holtzer clears Tucker. Now Tucker looking on the inside.
Yeah, going for that crossover, and that's a good move there. If you got that outside run, they pull the slide job on you to block that run. Just move down to the inside, keep your momentum, and now you got the priority line there on the inside. Dalton Tucker going to try to recover here and get the second place position that he narrowly had after that restart.
Well, while all this is going on, Landon Lacey just kind of walking away a little bit. He's about half a second ahead, actually a little bit more than that, from his teammate James Holtzer, as finally it gets lined out. But don't look now, Reese Schaefer looking on the outside of Dalton Tucker now.
And I really like what Reese has been doing. And I think at this point in the run, it's a weird balance where you got to be aggressive. You know, there's 40 laps to go. But the other thing you have to be careful of is you can't really burn up your tires right now, because at this, we don't see another caution. You got to save some grip in those things. So this is an interesting spot. This late in the race, you're up near the front. You got to go for it. You got to get those positions. But it's something that in the back of your mind, you're thinking, man, this could hurt at the end of this run if we don't see a caution.
Back a little bit further, Kyle Benson and Dean Brummett side by side. So Dean Brummett still coming alive up in the top 10 now, up 17 positions from where he started. And he's not slowing down at all.
No, this is a good race here from a couple guys on the move, and just in front of them, another big mover there with Seth Berger from 24th up to 8th. Kyle Spees ahead of him, 30th up to 7th. So a lot of big movers here right inside the top 10. And a couple of them right here running for this spot for 9th and 8th, as Brummett looking on the inside of Seth Berger.
Yeah, Brummett with a good move there to get that inside position. So I believe it's probably just a matter of time now before he gets that position. We'll see how hard Seth makes him work for it.
It looked like Seth wanted to think about pinching him down and kind of holding him against that yellow line and thought better of it. Maybe just kind of felt that the 25 was not perfectly on that line a little bit, and that was just kind of putting them both in a bad spot. Just gave that little bit of room, or maybe it was just the way that he had that line going in. It maybe kind of looked like he was wanting to pinch him down just that little bit. But either way, they do get that sorted out. Brummett to 8th, Berger to 9th. And Seth Berger, what a difference a year makes. He came in about midway through last season and had some solid runs, but wasn't anybody that you really kind of caught your eye a whole lot. But then this season, he has been outstanding since the very first race in Daytona.
Yes, he has. I mean, again, that tank racing, it makes a difference when you have other teammates out there. And Seth really didn't have any other. He had Max Service out there, I believe, and I think he had Joshua Balliet for a couple of the races there as well. But he didn't have a full 5-person team. Now that they have a full 5-person team, it is drastically different out there because they can give each other information. They can work with each other. They can tell people who's getting loose and where, what's going on the track. It is just a lot more information for you, and the more information you have on a track like this, the better.
Yeah, and that's in the race, in practices, throughout the week. You get a full team. You get more people showing up in these practices, and you get a lot more information there as well. As we see Emerson Arden getting a little bit loose as he gets passed by Russ Bovair. Speaking of adding people to teams, that's the third driver now for Ramsey Cole Racing, sitting up in the 13th position. And do believe he is, I was going to say he was the lead driver. Ty Cole actually sitting up in 11th. So they have 2 drivers inside the top 13, pretty close to each other right now for RCR.
Yeah, a nice quiet race for Russ Bovair. Haven't really said his name too much at all, and that's really what you kind of want here on a short track where nobody's really saying your name, but all of a sudden you're there at the end.
And, that just kind of gave me a little bit of flashbacks. Hopefully there's nothing coming up here.
Let's switch off of him and go to Landon Lazen.
As we go back to the lead, somebody that has not been affected by our attention tonight because he has been out front for almost the entirety of this race. Landon Lacey, 4/10 of a second lead over James Holtzer. It's another 4/10 of a second back to Dalton Tucker. And then another second back to Reese Schaefer, who gave up that third spot and has kind of fallen off a little bit, but possibly conserving those tires, thinking that this is going to go the next 30 laps without that caution.
Yeah, and speaking of Landon Lacey, last season he came into the series a little bit late in the season. Had he had the entire season under his belt and the required number of races, he probably would have made the playoffs and been a very strong contender there. He was one of the top picks in our All-Star draft as well. So definitely has the talent out there. Now this season he started off in the Xfinity Series, and he said, wait a second, I'm better in the Cup car. Let's jump to the Cup. And so that's what he did. And so now you see him up front. He's already got 1 win here in the Cup Series, looking for his second.
And amazingly enough, it's not like he was doing bad in the Xfinity Series either. He just had a couple rough finishes there. But aside from that, his speed was obvious. Very talented driver. Just knew, hey, all of a sudden, I'm sitting up here running up front in the Cup Series. I'm winning a Cup race. It's like, why am I not up here? And just deciding to make that jump, getting the spot with Next Level Motorsports, and making the most of that run. And he's very much a title contender by the time we get to the season-ending race in Atlanta. And that's kind of a shock when you think about it because, like you said, he was in the Xfinity Series at the start of the season. And now we're talking about him being possibly somebody in the running for that $1,000 payout at the end of the Cup season.
Yeah, I got to look at his teammate behind him, James Holtzer. The Cup Series leader, he has been absolutely dominant this entire season, and he just has nothing for Landon Lacey here, and that's got to say something.
Yeah, and Landon just... not every track is perfect for Landon, but the ones that he likes, including this one here at Richmond, it is just a home run pitch. It's right down the middle, and he can knock them out of the park. When he gets to the track that he likes, unbelievable speed. And we saw that at Nashville a good bit too. Just very strong driver. There's a couple tracks that I think he'll say too, just kind of gives him a little bit of trouble. But I think that's everybody. And so you kind of even see that with Holtzer a little bit. Had a rough run at the Roval, still had a top 10 there, I believe. Had a top 10 at Homestead after a little bit of trouble there, getting kind of mired in the mid-pack. But, you're seeing these 2 guys out here, 1-2 in this race, could very well be 1-2 at the end of the season just because of how consistently good they are. Even at the tracks they're not as great at, they still minimize the damage.
Yeah, unfortunately, Scott Healy, our second-place driver in the series, he has already left the race, and he will end up finishing in 27th position. So not the race that he was wanting, and that's going to allow James Holtzer, as long as Holtzer can maintain this position, to move up in the standings. Gabriel Ellison has had to jump off the race as well, and he was one of those top contenders also. So Holtzer is just going to get a massive lead on everybody after this race if he can maintain this position.
Yeah, you're looking at what could be a good 50-point lead, maybe 40 points or so at the midway point of the regular season. for James Holtzer, and that just goes to show you how impressive the start of the season has been for him. I mean, you're looking at, I believe it's 4 races of first or second, if I'm remembering that right. Everything inside the top 10, just an incredible start for him, and it really shows in those point standings. Next thing up is is here tonight. Try to find a way to get past this 24 car, Landon Lacey, who, I mean, they're running pretty much identical lap times at this point. They've stayed within that 3 to 4/10 of a second interval for the past handful of laps.
Yeah, for whatever reason, and obviously I don't have this exact data right in front of me, but for some reason I just feel like Landon Lacey is just kind of relaxing right now. He is not pushing that car very hard just in case Holtzer does have something for him at the end. Lacey wants to be sure he's still got the tires to do something about it, and I really think that's where he's at. Again, these guys are teammates. They're not going to hurt each other out there on the track, but they do not want the other one to beat them.
Seeing real deep drive and going very high for James Holtzer. Kind of went out of the shot. I don't believe he made any contact with the wall or anything. Doesn't look like there's any damage. Just really drove that in deep. Not sure if that was something where he was trying something, maybe doing a little investigating to see if that high line was going to work. I mean, he lost about 0.2 of a second, so whatever happened there did not work. As you see the one of Austin Reedy get a little sideways there and lose a lot of momentum as he gets passed by Timothy Latham on the outside. That's also going to let Dean Brummett by on the outside. So they're going to be side by side coming off of turn 4. And Reedy losing a couple spots in about 1/3 of a mile.
Man, and Dean Brummett didn't even post a qualifying time, and he is now up into the top 6. And so it just shows how fast he is. And I don't know if it would have changed anything had he posted a qualifying time. In theory, yes, he'd be up towards the front and all that stuff. I'm not sure it would be any different than what it is right now, but just this run that he is having is great.
Well, and also let's remember, he was caught up in that lap 1 caution. He made his way through, then got that side impact on the follow-through after he already avoided it, basically. And then he had a miss. He had close calls on 2 or 3 other cautions since then, where he was barely getting away from some damage. So he's had a very eventful night, but in the process, oh, by the way, he's just moving his way through the field not once but twice, because he had that other time where he was up to about 11th or 12th, had to make an extra pit stop, fell all the way back to the end of the lead lap, and made his way all the way through. I'm thinking he's had to have made at least about 80 passes on track to make up to the 6th position. Just an incredible showing for him.
Yeah, great run for Dean Brummett, but Lacey overall, Landon Lacey has just completely dominated this race. Even on the restart where we had Ty Cole, who didn't take tires or only took 2 tires, whichever one it was. I mean, he got past him within 1 corner, and so really there have not been very many green flag laps that Landon Lacey has not led.
Yeah, you're looking at only a handful of laps total that has not been seeing the 24 on the top of the scoring pylon, and now he's nearly a second ahead of James Holtzer. It's 3/4 of a second the lead as we're down to 14 laps to go, and barring a caution, I don't see a way that 42 catches him with the way that the 24 is running.
Yeah, and really there's not that many cars close enough to each other. Oh, never mind. We got a little bit of a gaggle back here. But really everybody's been kind of spacing out a little bit. Just kind of, as soon as I say that, Politis gets sideways.
What a save.
Saves it.
Oh, we're not done yet. 3 wide. Byron McDonald on the inside. David Duke in the middle. Michael Politis on the outside. They're still going to make him work. Unbelievable. And we said, hey, 3 wide can work. Just going to take some effort there. And there we go. 3 wide worked, even with the driver recovering from nearly spinning.
Michael Politis in 22nd place may have just made the move of the race by saving that car.
Well, that's definitely the case in Landon Lacey's mind. I'm sure that'll be his vote, because the last thing he wanted to see was a caution with 12 laps to go. And that 8 car, he just did a fantastic job keeping that thing going straight and holding on to that 22nd position afterwards. Still in contention for the lucky dog. Should we see another caution? That currently held by Scott Kalal in 20th.
heading back up towards the front. Let's see if we've got any others. You know, Joshua Balliette, we haven't really talked about him too much tonight. He was involved in an earlier caution. So up here in 14th position, not the race that he was looking for. He's down 7 spots, trying to hold off Craig Lautenslager for 14th here. But Balliette has been fairly consistent this entire season. So this is just one of those races that he might just want to walk away from this one.
And honestly, if you're talking about a race where you struggle, you're above that playoff cut line, and you're still inside the top 15, you're doing exactly what you need to do at this point in the season. You know, if you keep sitting there in the top 15 in the points, guess what? There's 15 drivers that are advancing to the playoff on points. So you're not going to lose a whole lot of ground, if any at all. You're going to be just fine when it comes to that if you're still sitting somewhat comfortable above that cut line going into this point, which he is.
Yeah, all you need is to stay alive. That is the main name of the game. And so once we get into the playoffs, basically weeks 14, 15, and 16 will go, and then we have a cut after that down to the top 10. So all he has to do is get into the top 15, and then the points basically start over, except you get some bonus points for whatever you gain throughout the season. But then all he has to do is stay in the top 10 at that point. And then we go 3 more weeks, stay in the top 5 at that point just to get into those finals. So really it's a very driver-friendly mode of figuring out our playoff champion because all you have to do is just stay in front of the people in front of you. That's it.
And hey, on the Xfinity side last season, we nearly saw the long shot happen where Aaron Gerwitz was one of the last cars to make it into the playoff, and he was in the Championship 5 and flirting with possibly leaving with the title in the Xfinity Series here for us. So, I mean, once you make it in, it's all about, and I'm a big hockey guy, they always talk about the hot goalie determines how the playoffs go. If you got the momentum once those playoffs start, you could see that monster run, and somebody that barely made it into the playoffs controls the field once the playoff starts going.
Well, it is really, really easy to have momentum when your team is finishing 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 10th or better every single week, and that is what Next Level Motorsports is doing right now with Landon Lacey, James Holtzer, Timothy Latham, Nick Gowen in 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 10th. Gabriel Ellison had to drop out because of those internet issues, so he's going to finish 31st. But if you take a look at this team, this is just such an all-star team. I've said that before, I'll say it again, as it looks like Andrew Lewis gets into the wall there, so he's just going to stay out of the way. But I mean, name the weakest driver on that team. I dare you.
You can't. There's not really anybody with too much of a weakness, if any weakness, on that lineup, and that's a scary proposition for everybody that's kind of looking at this. In the team standings, because you're thinking about that team playoff, they're going to be incredibly hard to beat, especially if they get that bye in the first round. Should they lock up the regular season team title? But then you're also thinking about all 5 of them likely looking like they could make the playoffs and really make up a third of that field, of the field of 15 drivers. The communication, the way that they can control a race at that point, that is a dangerous situation for the rest of the field.
Oh, absolutely. That's really what they're looking at right now. I mean, even with this bad finish for Gabriel Ellison, he's still going to be up in that top 15. And Nick Gowen, Timothy Latham, James Holtzer have done nothing but improve their spot. What on earth? We've got a caution. Oh, right, my goodness.
The white flag. It's the second time we've seen this in 3 weeks. Right on 2 laps to go, a caution comes out, and we're going to re-rack it for a green-white checker. But what just happened as this race has been flipped upside down, and that's the last thing Landon Lacey wants to see. And it's teammates, Kyle Johnson, Bo Brady, making contact in turn 2, and that sends him up into Scott Kowal. A little bit more contact between the 19 and the 48. And you see Michael Politis, it looks like, getting involved in that as well. That's going to have a big impact on the lucky dog, because you see Scott Kowal, who was going to hold that position, Bo Brady, who was racing for that position, they are involved in this. Michael Politis involved. I think that means David Duke's going to wind up getting the lucky dog.
Wow, what a huge turn of events here. And I don't believe that anybody's going to be pitting. I mean, at this point, this is, you run what you brung. But just a really crazy turn of events here. And now, if you're teammates, if you're Landon Lacey and James Holtzer, all bets are off at this point.
Oh, that's going to be a wild idea there. yes, you want to think about what's best for the team, but at the same time, you want to win that race if you're James Holtzer. So it's going to be an interesting spot. You also got to think that you got Dalton Tucker and Reese Schaefer right behind you in row two, and how this is going to shape up. Should we not see pit stops here? We'll take a look, and not going to bite for the 24. Seeing a couple cars, but I believe those are lapped cars that are making their way down pit road. Actually, no, going to take that back. Oh, yep, sorry. Those are all the lapped cars that were pitting and taking the penalty of pitting a lap early. So apologies about that. Kind of threw me off guard. But, yeah, so you're going to be looking at row one being Next Level Motorsport teammates, Lacey and Holtzer. Row two going to be Tucker and Schaefer. So you can't really take it too easy on each other if you're Lacey and Holtzer, because right behind you, you're going to be getting some heavy pushes from two hungry drivers.
Yeah, we thought that we had a finish there. I was actually already changing clothes to jump into bed after all this, but man, we are going to our first green-white checker finish now. And so, I mean, if you're Dalton Tucker or Reese Schaefer and you've saved tires, this is the moment. This is your shot. This is your chance to steal something. But I really don't think Landon Lacey and James Holtzer were running that hard either, so they probably have some good tires under there as well.
Yeah, I think the one that might be in the best position, based on what I was seeing, and that's just thinking that maybe he wasn't naturally a little bit slower. I think the 17 of Reese Schaefer just wasn't really pushing as hard. You could see that he was kind of sitting back a little bit more, maybe anticipating a caution coming out, maybe a little bit before 1 1/4 laps to go. But if he had any more tire saving, if you're thinking about 5% more life in that right front, that could make all the difference here in this 2-lap sprint.
Well, we're just trying to get everybody lined up here, and I think we'll get the one to go here. So pressure is on, and on a short track like this, you have a big chance of this not being the only caution of the night.
Yeah, I mean, and just kind of listening in on the driver chat, I think everybody kind of has this little edge right now of just like, oh no, this is a little scary, because you know how aggressive these green-white checkers are. Throw in a green-white checker on a short track, it just kind of amps it up even more. And you got some fast drivers sitting here in position where they're going to have a little bit of work to do to make their way up to the front, so they're going to have to be aggressive if they want to win this race. And it's just kind of, it's almost just a powder keg right now. All they got to do is make it a lap, though. They make it one lap, we're going to see a checkered flag, because once that white flag's taken by the leader, it's going to be the end of the race if a caution comes out.
Man, somebody that is really licking his chops right now is Dean Brummett back there in 6th, because he is just not that far off. And Tiffany Latham steps out a little bit there. But Landon Lacey got a great restart.
Dalton Tucker spun the tires or just got caught way off guard. You see him falling back in the pack, and that leaves Reese Schaefer take 3rd. Timothy Latham looking to the inside for 4th. But that is a perfect restart for Lacey and Holtzer.
Yeah, they're going to come to the white flag, and we are going to get this race finish here. So, white flag lap, here we go. Does Reese Schaefer have anything to get up into the top 2? I just don't think he does, but I don't think anybody's got anything for Lacey here.
No, I think we're going to see how this top 3 is going to play out already. Tucker going to take a look.
Wrecking behind.
Everybody keeps
and
it going.
Landon Lacey wins that race. James Holtzer takes 2nd. Reese Schaefer takes 3rd. We did have some wrecking going on there towards the end. I want to say, if I saw the correct car, I think Russ Bover was sideways at one point. I think we had Austin Reedy off the track there, Max Service off the track there for a little while as well. You know what? We'll take a brief look here on a rec replay and see if we can't go back and find out what happened. And once again, from Beer Street Journal, please drink responsibly. And as everybody's just trying to get every single bit they can, we are 3 wide all over the place. And it looks like...
So the 41 gets sideways behind.
Yeah. So the 48 gets into the 9 and turns him sideways. That really was a lot more tame than I thought it looked originally. So, but let's jump back up front and take a look, because Landon Lacey finished this thing off, and his entire team going crazy on the infield.
It's a bit of a familiar sight with the way that this team has been running. That's their 4th win of the season on 7 races, and Landon Lacey's 2nd on the season, so he ties James Holtzer for the lead in terms of wins this season for a driver, and I believe that's win number 5 in the career for SRN for Landon Lacey.
I believe it is. You know, he's one of our pit reporters in another one of the series, and so we always have this little thing at the bottom that shows who he is and how many wins he has and stuff like that, and now we have to update that. So thanks a lot for that, Landon.
Just adding a little bit more to your plate here this week as he parks it in what used to be Victory Lane at Richmond.
Well, let's take a look and see what our end results are here. Landon Lacey in first place for Next Level Motorsports. James Holtzer in second for the same Next Level Motorsports. Reese Schaefer pulls off a third place finish there for Tank Racing. Dalton Tucker in fourth for Rev Racing. And then Timothy Latham for Next Level Motorsports also in fifth.
One of the men on the move tonight was Dean Brummett. He winds up in the 6th position after gaining 20 spots. It's 23 spots gained for Kyle Spees, second driver for Rev Racing in the top 7 as he gets that 7th spot. Nick Gowen went from 27th up to 8th. Seth Berger, 24th up to 9th, and still a solid top 10 after starting 16th for Kyle Benson, just not having to make as many passes as some of those other guys, but still a top 10 finish for Benson.
Yeah, Austin Reedy up there in 11th for Murray Reedy Smith Road Racing. Joshua Balliet, for Tank Racing in 12th. Emerson Ardon for Tank Racing. We hardly said his name at all race long, but he's up in 13th position there. Kyle Johnson for Striker Motorsports in 14th, and Ty Cole after that pit strategy that he took a swing and it missed, but still with a top 15 finish.
Yeah, still in that top 15 for him. Craig Lautenslager will be in 16th. Russ Bovair, another Ramsey Cole Racing driver, in 17th after that bit of a wild finish there for him. Jordan Sailors in 18th. David Duke 19th. And Max Service will round out our top 20 in the first driver, 1 lap down.
All right, well, let's see if we get some interviews going on. We'll bring Reese Schaefer up into the booth right now. Reese, this is Sean and Brandon up in the booth, man. Congratulations. Great finish there.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
So what was it like in that race where, I mean, especially on that last lap when I mean, you know that there's a caution out there, you know this is your one shot to do it, and then some stuff happens up in front of you. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was, I was happy with a fourth place finish there, and then all of a sudden that caution came out at the very end there, and I was fortunate to be a restart on the outside, where the outside you don't really spin the tires that bad at all. So Dalton spun the tires, and I got around him and just hung it out, just survived in P3, so pretty good.
And one thing I keep seeing all season long is just you just have a lot of speed, and tonight just looked like a lot of consistency and a lot of conservation on the tires while holding on to a strong position and making your way forward. What this season, first season here with SRN, what's gone into that as we're halfway through the regular season? You're sitting in a very strong position.
Yeah, I've noticed so far the Cup Series there's been really green flag heavy, so I just tried to get the car to more long runs, and tonight it was definitely was set up for that when I was able to catch Scott and just really get myself in a good spot going into the final stage of the race, and we ended up in per track position and ended up P3, so it was a great race overall for us.
You guys in Next Level Motorsports, y'all are kind of throwing haymakers in this team championship. Is that something that your team talks about at all, or is it just something that kind of goes along with whatever your individual finishes are?
Yeah, we try our best to get up there. It's more just you're just surviving, just trying to be able to get through the top 10s, and just every week just put in much effort as you can. And Next Level, those guys are so fast. Holtzer and all those guys, they just absolutely can fly. So they're very, very tough, but it's always good to compete against them, and just try to do their best against one another.
Was there anybody that you'd like to thank tonight before we let you get back down to your team?
Yes, I'd like to thank my primary sponsor on the car, Health Capability Incorporated, and all of our secondary sponsors, LiftWorks, Chicago Heights, Healthcare, once again, Raise Energy, Hunterton, ButcherBox, Teespring, Common Sense. I'd like to thank Devin and all the tank racing guys for giving me the opportunity. It's been a really fun year so far, and hoping we can continue this success.
Man, we hope you do. We're on our way to Pocono next week, and we'll see how you do there. But great race here tonight. Congratulations on a third place finish, and we'll get you back down there to your team.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
All right. Let's see if we can't. I mean, it's almost one of those things where we just need to start going down into the next level motorsports booth and just kind of talk down there. Maybe they have a comfy chair for us or something like that.
I mean, I'll take a comfortable chair after sitting in the little office chair for a couple hours here.
Well, let's bring in James Holtzer with a great second place finish. And Holtzer, I mean, we were talking about comfortable chairs down in your booth, but we might want to get one here and just put your nameplate on it.
Yeah, it's been a dream start to this regular season. Really struggled last year in qualifying here. We started like 17th, and we only had 19 cars, so it wasn't as big of a deal, but was really just trying to work on that and start closer to the front, and slipped a little bit out of 4, or I might have started on the pole there. A great lap by Landon Lacey to secure that pole, and track position was just so huge. He was able to get up front on them restarts, so, even with us being in the same channel, kind of knowing who was going when. Just having that security, because I was trying to pace, and I know he was trying to pace, but at certain points of that run, I'd have to fight pretty hard to, keep second place. I had to fight really hard there towards the end there with Dalton Tucker to keep position there on the bottom. And I apologize. I'm not sure if we made contact there going into 1 or not. I was just really trying to pinch him outside there, because it's so hard to advance position on the bottom. Especially, in the situation where we were out on the fresh tires, you could pinch down really easy, and there's a lot of grip in that second lane. But nonetheless, we had a really good race tonight, and just struggled on the long run pace. I think partially it was just because of pushing, like I said, just to try to, keep second place. Kind of vice versa what happened last week with, Nashville. We had the lead, and we were able to just pace, and that really helped us out on the long run. But, just kind of feeling the adverse effect tonight, but nothing to complain about at P2.
And one thing that we're seeing here now is you're going to extend the individual points lead, extending that team points lead as well, as y'all had 4 inside the top 8 tonight, and we kind of talked about it a lot tonight that y'all kind of have that all-star team feel with that lineup that you have. And I always get curious, once you have a lineup like that, how is it just keeping everybody happy? Everybody's wanting to get the wins, everybody's capable of getting those wins. What's that balance with competitiveness and then that teamwork?
Yeah, it almost has like the Hendrick Motorsports feel this year. We all just kind of know where we're at, just with practice throughout the week, and we kind of have an idea on who's going to be the fastest out of the group. So, like a lot of us are just content to ride, and if we get faster at the point of the run, we'll let each other go. But it's just kind of plays out how it plays out. This team performance has been fantastic. Going tonight had an excellent recovery, as he had damage and he was down, I believe, like 20 RPMs or so, and he was flying on that long run. I kind of wish it would have went green for him. He might even got better than 8th, but really good recovery to him to get back up there, and feel there too for our teammate there in the 27, as he was blinking there and then was just trying to avoid stuff, and then he got killed into the wall, and then he just ended up parking just because his car was killed. So unfortunate for him, but overall, we got 1, 2, and 5, so can't really do much better from a team standpoint with that. And really looking like here we're going to try our hardest to secure that first seed, so we have the bye week the first week. Not too many weeks left here as the season's flying by, so should have probably 130 or 140 point lead here, which is pretty much almost a whole race points-wise, for max points. So just hoping to keep this momentum pulling forward, and really proud of this team. And with all the adversity we had in the beginning of the season with other circumstances, it was nice to be able to wrangle up a great crew like we have, and we've meshed so well. And I couldn't have picked 4 better drivers to accompany me on this team. It's been a pleasure.
Well, who do you have to thank here tonight before we let you get back to celebrating?
Yeah, I got to thank you guys, as always, in the booth for doing a fantastic job, always going back and watching the races. It's a great thing. Got to thank everybody at SRN for making this possible week in and week out, from the admin team and everyone else. It's an awesome league to race in. Just got to thank everybody in Next Level Motorsports for being great teammates and really working well together. And I think it's helped everybody's individual performance out, as we've all been really running very well this year. Then got to thank everybody on the car with JP Designs. Check them out. Scheme starting at $5. Package deals as well. Laurel Auto Group. And thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Man, happy to do it. Congratulations once again on just a phenomenal start to the season, and we will see you next week at Pocono.
Yeah, thanks so much. Congrats to Landon, dude. He ran a heck of a race.
All right, buddy. Have a great night.
Yep, you too.
Well, let's see if we can't get Landon Lacey in here. And we joke about having chairs up here in the broadcast booth. Well, he actually has a chair in the broadcast booth because he's one of our broadcasters. So, hey, Landon, take a seat in your regular chair up here and tell us how that race went for you.
Went pretty well. Started on pole. Think we definitely had most laps led for sure. Lap traffic was a little rough tonight, but other than that, it was just focus on hitting your marks and make sure not to roast those rear tires off the corners.
Well, I think the big question at the end of that thing was, how many words can you say that you were going through your mind there when going into turn 3, that caution came out right before the white flag?
Yeah, it actually was right in front of me too, which kind of scared me. I think me and the team went back and forth. Especially me and Holtzer and Tim went back and forth saying, are we going to pit? Are we not? And at first I was planning on pitting. And I got up right to the pit road entry, and I'm like, I don't think this is a good idea. I think I should just stay out on track. And so luckily I was able to make the right-hand turn back on the racetrack before I got there. And after that, it was just managing tire spin on that restart. And thankfully everybody behind me had more tire spin than I did.
Well, man, we keep talking about all night, this team that you're on and the team point standings as well as the individual standings, your move from Xfinity into Cup. Is this the dream season for you?
I don't see why it can't be. We're having such consistent runs every week. I think I think since we've become a team, we've gotten every pole since we started this team, and I think we've won every race since we started this team. I'm not trying to brag to the league. It's just this team is really, really strong, and we're pushing really hard to try to maximize points every week.
Well, who do you have to thank here tonight before we let you get right back to it?
Well, first off, I want to thank my teammate James Holtzer. He helped me out a lot tonight. It was nice having a teammate behind me. Really felt comfortable, just to where I could focus out the front windshield instead of looking in my mirror, every so corners. One more thing, I want to give a shout out to Lucas Lyons for everything he did this week for Christopher Clary. Thank you to him. Want to let everybody know that we're thinking about the Clary family. It's nice to get him in victory lane here, as I got him on my hood tonight, and I guess that was a little bit of a help having him ride with me tonight. So thank you to Christopher, and it's a sad thing for what happened, but he still lives on through us, and just glad to get a win for him. Other than that, thank you to Mid-South Coating Company. Thank you for everything you do for me, the whole Next Level Motorsports team, and basically everybody that's gotten me here to this point.
All right, man. Well, congratulations once again. And I don't know if you're actually looking at the broadcast while we're doing it, but we are going to put your winner sticker right up there, right next to your name right now. So now you have 2 wins in this series. This is your 5th Speed Racing Network win. So I joked around with Brandon a little bit earlier that now I have to change your slide once again because you're just too dang good. But congratulations, buddy. Good job out there tonight, and we'll see you next week at Pocono.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right, Brandon. So we got through the short track, and I think a lot of people are breathing a little bit easier now that we're done with the short track on the season. But next week we head to even a trickier track, the tricky 185 at Pocono.
It's tricky to say the tricky 185, as we do go to that tricky triangle, and that's about the most times I can say that word in about a minute. But yeah, it's kind of fun. We're going from our shortest track of the season to our second longest track of the season as far as the ovals go, where only Talladega is going to be a little bit longer, and there's going to be a little bit of that weird vibe. 2.5 miles, but you have some decently heavy braking. Just some sharpness to these turns. Every turn different. Anybody that's familiar with NASCAR knows how weird Pocono is and how complicated that track is. I'm avoiding trying to use that word again. But yeah, it's a treacherous place, and I think it bodes well for people that really do enjoy road racing, do well there. So that might be something to keep an eye on as we get ready to go to Pocono.
I mean, I call it one of the most technical tracks on the NASCAR circuit, just because those three completely different turns. There's no way that you can set your car up to be good in all three turns. So you have to figure out which one you're going to be worst at, and you just have to deal with it. You have to figure it out, and that's what I love about it. And then once you got a car right next to you, it is so difficult for you to change your entry angles to know exactly where they're at and really adjust for all those things. Very, very technical track, and that's why I love it. So come on back to check out the Tricky 185 at Pocono on Sunday, September 5th at 8 p.m. Central. But we do have the Truck Series coming in on Wednesday to the Tricky 110 at Pocono. That's Wednesday, September 1st at 9 p.m. And those trucks, I'm telling you, they are going to get after it on this course.
So we're going to have the Trucky 110 on Wednesday going around for that 2.5 mile track. And yeah, what you were saying is completely accurate. Side-by-side racing, especially on the tunnel turn 2. Just a tough situation around this track, and can't wait to see how those truckers handle that on Wednesday night. And I know Greg always says, just give a like, give a subscription to us on YouTube, and you'll get those alerts that when that race is coming up. But should you not do that, just know 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern.
That is correct. The Tricky Trucky 110. I'm changing the name. I'm doing it right now. But for right now, for myself, for Brandon Domain, and everyone here at Speed Racing Network, thank you so much for watching. Again, like and subscribe and get those alerts. But for right now, we're going to let everybody go for this evening with as always, go faster.